Bismillah wa salatu wa salam Rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah and the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger. Family, excuse me, pardon me. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateads, welcome back to the features. I greet you all in peace and love, no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a hell of a lot of haters up in this piece. And family, we are streaming live. We are live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Kick. We're live on Rumble. We're live on Instagram. We're getting it down now. Yeah, we're getting it down. We getting it down. We starting to brush a little dust off, brush the shoulders off a little bit, because we dusty up in this piece. So if you can hear me, press number ones in the chat, please. As you know, as we keep saying, we got a hell of haters up in this piece, but this is part 2 of the Epoch series that we have started with our brother, esteemed Sheikh Abdullah Deluxe. He's praying Fajr right now, so as soon as he comes in, we're gonna bring him in. For those of y'all who missed it last week, I highly suggest that you watch the first live. It was an incredible and very informative live. Is very, very informative. I personally learned a hell of a lot. I know anybody who watched it learned a lot. It got a lot of views, and and this is the second part. I didn't even want to stop the live, but we had to because we went on for like 2.5 hours, But as soon as the Sheikh hops in, we will get down to the nitty-gritty. So for those of y'all who missed the last live, just to quickly recap, or if you forgot what happened last live, what Abdullah did is that he went into the esoteric history behind white supremacy and how it was directly connected to occultism and Gnosticism. And he brought up some personalities that are linked to the Gnosticism behind white supremacy. So the first person that he brought up was a woman. Her name was Helena Blavatsky. She's a Russian woman who ended up in the U.S. eventually. And she was somebody who was deeply in the occult in the 1800s. Pardon me. And if I'm not mistaken, she died in 1882. Well, some of y'all can go look that up for me because I can't remember exactly the year. But what we do remember is her travels. She actually traveled throughout India to bolster her information and her understanding behind the occult, right? And she studied under the Hindus and whatnot. And long story short, she's the one who brought back the swastika, that what we know as the swastika, from India back to Europe. She underneath her studies in India, she learned about the Aryans, the Aryan race and their concept behind races, and they essentially said that there are going to be 7 eras ruled by 7 different races. This is what she learned, okay? And we are currently in the 4th era, and this era will be ruled by what is known as the Aryans. So that whole concept was brought from Hindus, from Hinduism. Okay. All right. So he went into great detail about this. All right. And the other personality that the brother had brought up was another person. His name is Guido von List. Right? And he was born in a Christian family, mind you. Both of these individual born in Christian families, but they ended up in the cult somehow. And he ended up in the catacombs of France, right? So Guido von List, okay? Or Guido von List is I believe is the proper pronunciation. Okay. Anyways, the whole point is that he went as a teenager, okay, to the catacombs. And on his visit to the catacombs, if you know about the catacombs, it's kind of like, it's very eerie. Okay. You can look up, especially the older photos and whatnot. Right. So he went to a particular crypt, so to say. I can't remember if somebody can remember whose crypt it was. If you could just put it in the chat, right? But the main point, right, is that when he arrived at this crypt, he vowed to rebuild the temple of Wotan. The temple of Wotan. Who is Wotan, people? Who is Wotan? Put it in the chat. If y'all remember who Wotan is, put it in the chat. Who is Wotan? Who is Wotan? Somebody put it in the chat, please, if you remember who Wotan is. Y'all can look it up. His name is Guido von List. I'll wait for y'all to look that up. But why this is important is because you have people nowadays doing the same thing. Thank you. Thank you, Victor Jordan Jr. It's Odin. So he vowed as a teenager to rebuild the temple of Odin. And we had mentioned that there are people right now, as we speak, there's an entire movement that of folks who are worshiping Odin right now. That a whole movement behind it. A whole entire movement behind this worship of Odin. Okay? So now we see, for example, what are those people called? What are they called again? Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting. The something of Odin. 1 second, let me just look it up. One second. But anyways, if you look at pictures of Odin, right, he kind of looks like the description is a lot like the Dajjal, to be honest, right? His description is a lot like the Dajjal, right? So, Assalamu Alaikum Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh, Sheikh.
Salaam Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We were just reviewing some of the things that we talked about last week, and last week was like really informative and an incredible live. We really appreciate all the work and the research that you put into this stuff, right, with the receipts and everything like that. So and it was eye-opening for sure. Right. So and we were just mentioning about Helena Blavatsky and Guido von List, right? And how Guido von List, as a teenager, he vowed to rebuild the Temple of Odin. And Helena Blavatsky, she's basically responsible for bringing back this Aryan ideology and the swastika from. She's born in Russia, ended up in the States, but she went to India to study with Hindus and whatnot. So just a quick summary, because that life was so deep, right? And I highly suggest, if you didn't see the first live, watch the first live. You will not regret it, I promise.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So I will let you continue. You got the floor, Sheikh. Go ahead. Bismillah.
جزاك الله خير يا أخي بلال. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Bilal, may I share my screen?
Sure. Go ahead. Send me the request.
I did the thing here. I did press the button.
I'm not seeing anything right now. Maybe redo it.
Redo it. Okay, one sec. Allow to share window. Okay, allow to share screen fully. Share entire screen. How does that work?
Got it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
There we go.
You got the map now?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the last video, we have spoken about one of our big villains here, Guido von List, and how he had this, concept or idea of Armanenschaft, which is the German elite hood, and how the German population, or say the Germanic, not the German, the Germanic, because it's a matter of ethnicity, not of borders. They must adopt this ideology right here, and we had explained it that it was this typical esoteric pyramidal layered aqidah model. And we said that for the population we had basic paganism, and then we had esoteric theosophical and Rosicrucian gnosis, and then above that we had the ultimate secret gnosis. And then we went on to explain this model, if you remember, how the general model is all about having a dumb mass and the elites of society that have a different belief system than the masses, and that above them there is a secret gnosis that is, like the Sufis call them, khasatul khasa.
Yes.
And then we've applied this model.
Khasa, if you can just translate that for the.
Yeah, so you see, the Sufis, they have in their jargon, they speak about al-awam, al-amma. They're just the masses.
The general people. Yeah.
The general people, yes. And the general people in Sufi lingua is always it always has this connotation of disdain. Like, the general folks, they're dumb, they don't know, they're sinful, they're impure. And then you have al-khassa. Those are the specifics, or the not general. Yeah, the
specialist.
Yeah, exactly. So these people, they're either through kinship, through lineage, that makes them de facto from the khassa, or through the acquisition of their knowledge, they become part of the khassa. So those are your fuqaha and your Azharis nowadays, and your people from Hadramaut in Tarim, etc. And then you have the secret gnosis on top of that. So those are your Hallaj, and who else? Your Ibn Arabi, all these guys that have spoken out complete total kufr, but you have these people here that making excuses for what happened from these people here. But maybe we'll have another meeting talking about that more in depth, which will also get us more into this recurring theme of Lucifer. If you remember, we said that Blavatsky, she wrote this book, Lucifer. Lucifer brings the enlightenment to break out of the trap of qadar. Likewise, Rudolf Steiner. So that's how all of that connects. Now, the last application of this model that I want to look at is Western atheism. Now, big disclaimer, people. What I'm going to talk about here is my own deduction. I want to make this crystal clear. Not that I have researched this particular matter in particular. Maybe some people have said this, and maybe there is solid proof to back this up. I don't know if anybody knows anything. Anybody can give me a clue, something to follow up on. I'll please do share that with me. Put it in the comments. But what I'm going to talk about here are my own deductions. I've never read anyone say this, and I'm going to explain to you why I deduced this thing right here. So we know that this pyramidal layered Aqidah model is absolutely real. It has been leaked by Guido von List, by Imam al-Ghazali, and others.
Yeah,
So
that part was very shocking. Yes, did not know that when you said that last week as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want, Bilal, we're gonna, maybe we can have a live specifically on that, how that works in the Muslim world.
Absolutely, sure.
Yeah. And so if we look at Western societies, we see that the masses nowadays are really dumbed down by nihilistic atheism.
Yes.
And it's so nihilistic, it's unbelievable. Like, life is the result of immeasurably minute chance.
Yeah.
And there is absolutely nothing to it. And you have your what's this big boss of atheism nowadays, what's his name, Dawkins. He is telling you that we cannot say that rape or murder is incorrect. There is nothing that can allow us to judge rape or murder as being something immoral, etc. Obviously, he's talking from the atheist perspective. And that's what we are being pumped. That's what's being pumped into us in the West since a very young age. Like as far as I'm concerned, in Luxembourg, we had our 2 hours a week of Catholic education in school, but then everything else is geared towards pumping this into your mind. So in history, you study the Big Bang, you study evolution, and then you have in different other classes, you're gonna have texts that you read. Like, for example, in language classes, you're gonna read certain texts that are all kinds of philosophies that go down to this nihilistic atheism, hedonistic approach to life. And the way they do is as I was explaining, with this pseudoscience of Darwinism and Big Bang, and the result is absolute hedonism. Everybody is just chasing pleasure.
Yes.
To the best of their ability.
Yes.
And people is as Muslims, it is very important to understand ourselves and to teach our children what is the difference between pleasure and happiness.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And the Western society, the whole paradigm of the Western society aims at completely blurring out the difference between pleasure and happiness, and they're trying to make you believe, they fool you into believing that happiness lies in pleasure.
Yes.
And that just doesn't work. This is why you see
that is an excellent analogy. I'm glad you brought that up as well, right? Yes. Yeah.
Look, as Muslims, we understand, like one of the Salaf said, if the sons of the princes and the leaders knew the level of pleasure that we bear in our hearts, they would have beaten us with swords. Right? Like the happiness that we gain from the practice of our religion, it makes us above need from all this stuff that they are pushing onto us. And this is something as Muslims we need to keep in mind, because this is a way out. This is part of the way out from this scheme that has society on lockdown in the West and more all over the world. And so
I'm not sure this question here from Aladdin, right? If you want to answer it now or you want to answer it later, it's in Arabic though.
Read the question for. Oh, it's in Arabic. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
مثل العامة والعمل الخاصة في قواعد اللغة العربية من وقالة اليوم. Yes, he's going deep, my man Ala. All right, we'll leave that for later, inshallah ta'ala. So, and then we have, of course, cultural rituals and events that reinforce this hyper-materialistic, hedonistic, nihilistic culture that we're living in. And one of the biggest one of those cultural rituals is what's happening right now. It's Christmas. I mean, can it get more materialistic than this?
Shots fired.
I mean, disagree with me. All right, just
no way, man. No way. That is just an absolute fact.
Yeah. So above the masses in our Western society, we have mainly Freemasonry. Now, Freemasonry is one of those bizarre things that is all over, but subhanallah, they are really skilled at keeping their secrets.
Yes.
You'll be very hard pressed to find much that has been leaked from Freemasonry, and you'll be even more hard pressed to find to differentiate what is really authentic from what is red herrings.
Yeah.
From whatever has been leaked. But what we do know is that it's an absolutely esoteric society, and it has initiation rituals, and it has 33 degrees, and the upper degrees being the secret gnosis.
Yes.
Now, Freemason, what we do know from them, because that is somewhat in the open to see if you know what to look for, they are taking control of the frameworks of society. So as we have said previously, the legal sector, higher education, political institutions, media, industrialists. All right. Well, I want to explain what is an industrialist. We're not talking about your engineers. We're not talking about your bright minds that are, bringing progress to society through innovation, etc. No, we're talking about the people that are above those bright minds. Those are the industrialists. They're the ones that are sitting high up in the offices and decide what gets produced, how it gets produced, and they manage the market amongst each other. It's very often an oligarchic kind of market situation that we have in the world nowadays, and the people that those market oligarchs, they are part of this framework that has control of the society and shapes this atheist nihilistic framework of society. Now, I say that the people here in Freemasonry are not atheists. As I have explained in the last video, it's not that the lower level is getting only, say, 2% of the truth and the other ones are withholding 98% of the truth. No, the upper middle, this elite here, they want to hold the truth for themselves, and they're giving some falsehood to the masses because they want to dumb them down.
Yes.
Now, why am I saying this? What leads me to believe this? Well, this book that I showed you last time, where is it? Here it is. All right, Sworn in Secrets, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar, by Sanford Holst. All right, this is he.
Okay, we just lost him for a second. Give me a minute, guys. He's back. 1 second. Let me get him back here. 1 second. He is back. There we go. And there we go. Okay.
All right. Where did you lose me, bro?
We just lost like a second. You just put up the book, and then you were about to say the book, and then
So he's speaking about the history of Freemasonry, and he's exploring the sworn in secret.
Okay. Born the
All right.
secrets.
Shout out to the anonymous brother who told me to read this book. Waffaqallahi.
So,
And I mean, I know his name, of course, but I'm not gonna say his name because anyway. So this guy right here, he's exploring what are the different theories about how Freemasonry came about.
hmm.
Now, very interestingly, when he is talking about what happened here? When he's talking about the the different lodges, etc.,
Mhm,
and how people get initiated.
mhm,
So he said, no one could become a Mason unless they believed in God.
mhm.
It was one of the
Also,
unshakable requirements.
yes, yes. That's
So, folks, this is, I mean, this book right here is praised by Freemason outlets. Okay, it's about as legit of a thing as we can get coming from that particular Jama'ah. Now,
mhm,
however, you see that there is a footnote here, and we're gonna look at the back of the book and see what that footnote says. The only known exception to this rule is the Grand Orient de France,
mhm.
which no longer required the prospective member, the prospective member state a belief in God.
After 1870.
After 1877.
Mhm,
So, what is that all about? Well, you see what is here, the Grand Orient de France. That is the big free masonry lodge of France. That is their seal. I believe they're based in Paris.
mhm.
So it was founded in 1773. And wallahi, Bilal, it is a notorious place. So obviously, you see here it is full of enlightenment
Oh,
or
yeah.
esoteric symbols. All right, here you have the
Yeah.
one
Also,
eye of enlightenment. You have the snake. All
yeah.
right, the same snake that we had at Blavatsky's
Yep.
Theosophical Society right
This,
here.
yep. There you go.
Okay.
Snake. Yep. The
Um, what else do we have right here? We obviously have the geometric
square,
tools.
compass.
The,
Yeah.
yeah, and so you have the G that is somehow camouflaged into here.
Yeah.
There is multiple speculations about what it means. One speculation is that it means God,
Mm,
but Allahu Alam.
mm,
But where am I getting at? Is that the Grand Orient de France, before that, believing in God had been abolished as a requirement. We
mm,
had the French Revolution.
mm,
And the French Revolution is is agreed upon that it is the turning point in Europe where a heavily Catholic Christian society has been switched towards secularism and atheism. So it didn't happen in one go, but that was the initial stage, and it was just a matter of maybe a generation or two until we had full-blown secularism, Catholic Church pushed to the side,
mm.
and a society where atheism is more and more being developed all over the paradigm as I have described it here. So now we need to think back: who were the masterminds of the French Revolution? Well, they were none others than your great French thinkers, your illuminates, to the point where these guys' century right here is called le siècle des Lumières, the century of the lights. And you have number one, Voltaire. Voltaire, he is undisputedly the man that has influenced the masses the most into and in those day and age to push them towards the French Revolution, and he is the one who has laid the framework for this atheist secular society to be built after after the French Revolution. Now, mind you, he did not do this by laying out a legal framework for a new type of government. No, he laid the ideological framework in the population through his writings, his poetry, and his theater plays. So he is the Hollywood of that day and age.
So it's the same type of tactics that essentially, pardon me, that we see like this modern tactics where it's like a propaganda campaign, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's
I
a propaganda campaign through entertainment
yes.
and making it seem that, you know, it has this thing where you distinguish yourself if you read the works of Voltaire, you know, like,
Oh
you know,
yes, yes.
you know, the French intellectuals, as you know, this, you pride yourself at, you know Voltaire's poetry by heart, etc. And
Yes, yes.
it's all an indoctrination mechanism.
Mm.
So Voltaire is undisputedly a Freemason.
Mm.
All right. Here is his here's a picture of his apron as a Freemason. So once again, you see all the esoteric symbolism on this particular thing. So he is known to have been part of a lodge called La Loge des Neuf Sœurs, the Lodge of the Nine Sisters. So this was kind of like a daughter lodge to the Grand Orient. And as I said, this is an undisputed historical fact. So people, let's put this into perspective. We have the man that is at the origin of the spreading ideologically of atheism in Europe, and he is a Freemason that believed in God. Can you spot the inconsistency?
Wow, yeah.
And then we have these other guys here. We have Montesquieu, Rousseau, and Diderot. These are all, like Voltaire, the big minds that influenced the French population in that day and age. They were less influential than Voltaire. He is the undisputed number one. However, they were still very influential. And all of them rejected the Catholic Church. And, you know, they rejected organized religions, as they say.
As they say,
That,
yes.
yeah, that's
All
a
this,
big
all
thing.
this stuff came directly out of Europe, right? And then you find, like through osmosis, people who have nothing to do with this, kind of taking up these arguments.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
So yeah. So go ahead, continue. Go ahead.
And once again, so all of them are believed to be Freemasons. Voltaire is 100% confirmed. Montesquieu is the one who you know, historians say that there is the most proof to indicate that he was a Freemason, but there is no 100% definite proof. Jacques Rousseau, likewise. They're proved to be connected to Freemasons. There is no shadow. There isn't a shadow of a doubt about that. They were at least participating in certain lodge activities, but it's just a matter of whether or not they were initiated in a lodge. So anyway, let's go back to the French Revolution. So here we have Camille Desmoulins. He was the crowd agitator during the storming of the Bastille, which is, how to say, the what triggered the French Revolution. And so he is also 100% confirmed to have been a brother at the Neuf Sœurs Lodge, which is the same lodge as Voltaire. And then we have Louis-Philippe II, who has renamed himself Philippe Égalité. Égalité means equality, because that was one of the big slogans of the French Revolution: Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. So freedom, equality, and brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so he was the carrier of the banner at the storming of the Bastille, and he was the Grand Master of the Grand Orient Lodge of France. So we see that, and he was also a brother in the Neuf Sœurs Lodge. So we see that the people that brought us Western atheism were all Freemasons. And we know from a Freemason saying that it was a condition for them to believe in God. The condition at the Grand Orient de France of believing in God had not been abolished yet. So all of these guys believed in God. And my deduction is that after a certain time, like less than a century after the French Revolution, atheism was so widespread in France that the Freemason couldn't keep this as a requirement to take on new recruits, but they obviously in this model right here, once you are selected to leave the dumbed down masses and you come up here, they are deconstructing the whole belief system that you have and rebuilt their particular esoteric belief system. And depending on what degree you're on, they're going to teach you different things and deconstruct and reconstruct in accordance. That really is my take on atheism, because when you look at Darwinism and Big Bang, my brother, this is so stupid. Or like what we have been discussing, you and me, on WhatsApp, the whole space exploration thing. That stuff is so stupid and light years away from any type of science. But it is pushed onto the masses by these people who control society, the framework of society.
Yes.
And so I believe that the people that gave us atheism are not atheists in themselves. Wallahu alam. Is that kind of clear, Bilal, what I have explained here?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. All right.
So let us get back to our good old Guido von List villainness.
And if you guys have any questions in the chat, you can put them in the chat. If I catch them, I'll just interrupt the brother and then see if he can.
Yeah, because I can't see the chat as I'm watching my screen that I'm sharing here.
No worries.
So back to Guido von List. Like we said that, his model was based on the same kind of idea. And he had mentioned an occult elite somewhere that is above the ultimate secret gnosis of his model.
Yeah.
So in one of the books on the topic, when Guido von List was working at building this vision he had for the Aryo-Germanic population, this here happened. Another sign which gave List cause for messianic optimism was his receipt of a letter on November 1911 from an individual calling himself Tarnhari. This man, whose name literally meant the hidden Lord, not in German. I mean, I don't know in what language Tarnhari means the hidden Lord, claimed to be the descendant from the ancient tribe of the Völsungen. This mysterious emissary from the distant past assured List that his rediscoveries concerning the Aryo-Germanic past tailed with his own ancestral clairvoyant memories. Tarnhari also confirmed the existence of the Armanenschaft, which is this whole concept Guido von List has about, the Germanic people and their non-human qualities. He claimed that he had been an earlier reincarnated, that he had been earlier reincarnated as a leading priest king of an old elite. Now, my brother, go make sense of this.
Wow.
Another thing which is interesting is that within his model, there was a 10-degree Kabbalistic tree of life. So I'm not going to try and explain Kabbalism because I have yet to find something, how to say, credible about what Kabbalism really is. Now, if anybody has something to suggest to me, any author or something to read, please put it in the chat. I am all open to suggestions. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, all right? It's just that my knowledge on the field is limited, and it's one of my limitations. I do not really know what Kabbalism is. But whatever, authors have mentioned that concerning this, list emphasized the mystical, not mystical. Sorry, let me correct this. The mystical equivalence. What happened here? Equivalence of the ascending and descending grades, interpreting the traditional Kabbalistic motto of as above, so below, to mean that the Aryan race are God man, or that the Aryan man is a God man. Okay, so that is what these people believe about themselves. Us white folks, we are gods. All right. Anyway, let's, yeah.
Actually, this is a good talk. Maybe we can cover this guy later, but his name is John Todd. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
John Todd, and another lady, her name is Kathy O'Brien. Right. So John Todd, way back, like I want to say like maybe early 80s, late 70s, something like that. Right. He was one of these whistleblowers about the Illuminati and whatnot. Right. And his recordings were so shocking at that time, right? You're like, because nobody was doing what he was doing at all, right? It was absolutely right. Eventually the powers that shouldn't be, they came after him, or what. But one of the things that he said, and if you can catch his lectures online, I highly suggest you listen to him. Right, is that they believe that they're gods. They believe that. They actually believe that stuff, right? And
what? Yeah, go ahead, Bilal.
Yeah, and Kathy O'Brien, right? She's another one. She was somebody who was, you could say, human trafficked by these types, these Illuminati types. And it's a long story, but she escaped somehow, right? And she basically exposed a lot of high level politicians, or as we mentioned before, like you can't be a president of the United States without being a Freemason, right? Right. So she was mentioning that some of the politicians like Bill Clinton and all these, and she's saying basically these politicians, they are in collusion with each other. It doesn't make it versus Democrat, Republican, whatever. But she said that they believe that they're gods.
Yeah, as I have mentioned before briefly, the whole point of this esoteric, this layered aqidah thing is to leave the human condition. It's a recurring thing in esotericism. You have the Holy Grail. If you drink from it, you become immortal or whatnot. You have the Philosopher's Stone. You have something else. I forgot what it's called now. Pythagoras, the famous mathematician and the man who brought us the Pythagoras theorem about geometry. He was part of an occult esoteric society, and they believed in some object that you gotta find on Earth, and when you eat it, you leave human condition. And yogis are on record nowadays saying that you have your these new yogis that are that have YouTube channels and whatnot. They say that yoga is not a ritual in quest of finding the divine. It is a ritual in quest of becoming divine.
Yeah.
And this is exactly Iblis's promise to Adam.
Yes.
This is what brought Adam out of Jannah. ألا أدلك على شجرة الخلد وملك لا يبلى. Shall I not indicate to you the tree of eternal life and a kingdom that shall never perish?
Perish, yeah.
It's Iblis's trap. at the highest stage, and these people are in Iblis's his clockwork system,
Mm-hmm.
that he promises them at the end of this you will become a god or a demigod, and Mahim, you will not be human anymore. And the reality is that you're gonna land on the ground, like the Prophet ﷺ said, and the only thing that's gonna fill your mouth is dirt.
Mm.
Where are they today? That's what it is, man. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Bilal, another thing from the secret gnosis of List, it had, he was talking about the use or the belief in the four elements, and the harnessing of the four elements and the use of the
That's
four elements.
directly from magic directly.
Sorry?
That's directly from magic, from sihr. The belief in the four elements. That's
Absolutely. So you
directly
have
from sihr.
fire, air,
Water
water, and earth.
and earth.
And
And you
this
and
is
you see
what,
this theme coming up over and over and over again in entertainment, in video games, in kids' books, right? And even in things that are seemingly innocuous, right? But it has these are actual things that real people who practice sorcery and witchcraft, they actually do this stuff.
yeah, Bilal, how can we watch these videos that I sent you yesterday?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let me just cue it up. Right. So
Yeah.
1 second.
Um, exactly as you said, Bilal. This is so common. I mean, alhamdulillah, I have
Now it's
detoxed.
common. Now maybe 30, 40 years ago it wasn't so common. I remember I'm not sure how old you are, but I remember there was a cartoon, very popular cartoon that came out in the 80s when I was younger. It was called Dungeons and Dragons. And my parents, they never let me watch this cartoon.
Subhanallah al-Azim.
And they're the ones who are telling me that this is from magic. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just Dungeons and Dragons. This I can watch any cartoon I wanted except for this one, right? And I never watched a single episode up until this very day. And all my friends are watching Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not allowed to watch it, right? Right, but yeah, but they're saying this is from sorcery and blah blah blah, and I'm like, what? Like what? I didn't get it, right? But apparently it really is. It really is, right?
Oh, it absolutely is, brother.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Yes.
And alhamdulillah, I detoxed from movies a long time ago.
Mm.
But you remember that movie back in the days with Bruce Willis, The Fifth Element?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
What were the
yeah.
four? What were the four elements?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fire, air, water,
Well,
and earth. You remember when, like,
yeah,
he grabs earth from the ground and he puts it on that little brick, and then it opens and the light comes out of it, and then he wipes his sweat and he puts it on the other one.
yeah. But there's
All right.
so many things from popular culture, like Avatar is a big one, right? There's a lot of different ones. There's like yeah, I remember when I was younger, what and the Looney Tunes cartoons, like the like Bugs Bunny and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Right, very popular, right? So on
yeah.
one of these episodes, they're doing a magic, right? And they're doing abracadabra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Abracadabra. So we're thinking like this is just like some gibberish words back in those days, right? We
Yeah,
didn't know what it was. It's like abracadabra is just some gibberish that you say to make magic, whatever, right?
yeah.
Turns out abracadabra is something that is directly linked to Aleister Crowley,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
we didn't know any of this stuff. Like Aleister Crowley is like he's like he's the one who said that these magic words abracadabra. Next thing you know, it ends up in almost like 80 years later in a no, not 80s, I would say like 50 years later
Yeah, in about every cartoon.
in every cartoon. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyways, that when you say the four elements, that's just like, you know, now we're talking sitter now, right? So
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm really interested in how sitter is linked to white supremacy, man. This is crazy, man. All this kind of stuff is nuts, man. Okay, anyways, let me just pull this up 1 second,
Yeah.
I got it. I already queued it up. Let's see if it's the right one. Hold on. Which one is it? not that one. So it's this one. This one. I think it's this one. So this is the first one. Yeah, 1 second. Let's play it out. Okay.
Every description in every magician. This is very, very, very important. This is talking about the stars and astrology. Do not see them as completely separate things. Fortune telling and astrology has a key part to play in regular magic. We're going to see this is the star signs, and each of the star signs is associated with an element of the earth. And I want you to write this down. Each of the star signs is associated with an element of the earth. And one of the 4 elements, sorry. 4 elements are earth, fire, air, water. Each star sign is associated with one of those 4 elements. This is not true. This is all complete rubbish. But this is what the magicians use. Just because you're born in a time when you're supposed to be fiery doesn't mean you're fiery. Alhamdulillah, we don't take these omens. We say, oh Allah, there is no omen except from you, and there is no good except from you, and there is no God worthy of worship except for you.
All right, Bilal.
Okay.
Yeah, go now from there, skip all the way to minute 33 and 46 seconds.
Sure, I got it queued up already, so let me switch. So shut up. We'll go over here. Second, I think it's this one. This next one. There we go.
Right. Now we begin to understand how the magician writes the amulets. The first thing, guys, I want you to write down. Not every magician can write. Not every magician can write and calculate. There are magicians who do things the literate way and magicians who do things the illiterate way. Okay? So there are magicians that do things by writing and magicians that do things the simple way, the village way, like they call it. They call them village magicians here in England, the witch of the village or the witch of the town. They don't write, but they have alternatives to the writing. And the alternatives are based on the same system. Here, brothers, you can see a table. And I'll just mention the table quickly to you so that you can, if you don't have it, you can sort of keep it in mind. Alif is equal to 1, Ba is equal to 2, Jim 3, Dal 4, Ha 5, Waw 6, Zai 7, Ha 8, Ta 9, Ya 10, Kaf 20, Lam 30, Mim 40, Noon 50, Sin 60, Ain 70, Fa 80, Sad 90, Qaf 100, Ra 200, Sheen 300, Ta 400, Tha 500, Kha 600, Dhal 700, Dad 800, Dha 900, Ghain 1000. We'll inshallah show you a copy of this later on. Don't worry about it, inshallah. What do the magicians do with this? Why am I telling you this for the first time? I'm not telling you so that you get all amazed about what the magicians do, or so that you say, oh, at least now I have a backup career if my existing career fails. No. I'm telling you so that you can understand what these things mean. These ta'aweed, these circles with these numbers in, what they mean. This is what they mean. What is your proof, O Muhammad? Are you reading books of the magicians again? No, 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 no. My proof is from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, that Ibn Abbas said, there are a people who write abajad, alif ba jim dal, abjad hawaz. أبجد حوز حطي كلم. There are people who write abajad. Look at the knowledge of Ibn Abbas. Look at how he understands. A people who write abajad. They write abjad hawaz hutti kallim. And then so on and so forth. So the first row, abjad hawaz hutti kallimn. People who write abajad. What do they do with abajad?
Okay, so just real quickly.
Yeah.
All right. When he's talking about Ibn Abbas saying there are people who write abajad, what Ibn Abbas is saying is that if you I'm not sure if you can see it. Let me see my mouse. Okay, my mouse is here. These letters here, abajad. That's what it is in Arabic. Abajad, and then hawaz hutti, right? It's the actual letters that the brother Tim Humble.
It's like an acronym.
It's like an acronym, yeah.
You see, like when they're being initiated into this, they're taught this as an acronym so that it's to help them memorize the table.
That's right. Right. So
now go to the next mark, Bilal, which is 41 minutes and 20 seconds.
Sure. 1 second. Gotta find it. Is this one? I think it's this one. Yep. Okay, so we'll play.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they come up, they start, it's not clear on the picture, we'll show you in a moment where they start, and they come to 5. 5, they come up with it and they say, for example, I'll give you an example, they say, it's difficult to see on there, they say that 5 is, maybe that says earth, I can't see, it's very, very difficult to see. In any case, they say earth. What are they going to do when they come up with earth? Who knows? What are they going to do when they come up with earth? What are they going to do with the ta'weez? Bury it in the ground, bury it in the grave, bury it in the soil. This was found buried partially in the soil. Why is it buried in the soil? Because the calculation of the person it worked out as was turabi, someone who was a soil person, an earth person, or in the sand or in the grave. If they're a person of fire, what are they going to do with it? Put bukhur, put incense and burn it. If they're a person of water, what are they going to do with it? Put it in water, in the sewer, in the toilet, in the water, in the sea, in the river. If they, and so on and so forth. If they're a person of air, what did we see in the previous videos? The bird, or hang it on a tree so that it blows in the wind. This is the action of the magicians. And I'm just giving you a brief overview. There's more to learn than that, but that gives you a brief overview. This set of numbers is very important for deciphering the...
Before I continue, people, this is an excellent series of lectures that I advise all of you to watch. It's by Tim Humble. It's called Ruqya Course or Ruqya Support or something along those lines. It is very, very, very informative. And those are really things you need to know about. You need to, because many people, from the dumbing down of our atheist societies, is to think that all of this is just, how to say, it's just old tales that are
like
myths,
folklore,
exactly. And you shouldn't worry about these kind of things. No, you should worry about this, and you need to take a precaution. It's not difficult, but if you don't do it, well, you're vulnerable now.
Yes.
So absolutely, folks, take time out and watch this rather than a whole lot of other nonsense. It's a good thing to watch with family, by the way. You know, if your kids are old enough to understand what he's saying, it's also good for them to process this information and be aware of what's going on. So anyway, why did I want to show this to you? It's because you see how Tim Humble, he explains that this numerology of sihr, it's a science. You know, they're initiated into that. They will, based on what kind of initiation that they get, they will get initiate in different types of tables that then refer to different other types of tables, you know. So the calculators, that they calculate the numbers in a certain way, and these numbers then match something in another table.
Yes.
And this goes back to this 4 elements. And based on these 4 elements, they do a different type of sihr. So when it's a sihr that is done against an individual, they do the numerologic count with the person's name and, you know, the time of the year where he was born, and that enables them to calculate what would be the appropriate sihr to harm this individual in a certain way. And that's what this element stuff is. So as Bilal was explaining, whenever you see this 4 element stuff, you came at you know, at the cliff of kufr. Any step into that and you're gone.
You're gone, yeah.
You gotta run for your life,
you know,
when you see this particular thing.
because the way it's presented to the people is like something that is innocent and innocuous, and you know, like games and things like this, right? But it's not a game; it's something that's very serious, right? And
Absolutely.
And it's so widespread. And this is one of the things that the Prophet ﷺ, he warned against, from the 7 sins, the 7 that he says to stay away from during the last days, right?
It's al-mubiqat, the sins that are awbaq. It means to annihilate. It just, you know, it's the nuke. There's nothing left after that.
Yes.
You know, and sihr was number 2.
Number 2, right after shirk.
Absolutely.
After shirk. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because sihr is shirk plus.
Yes.
It's shirk, like the whole sin of shirk is that you it's really a form of disrespect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not putting Allah in the status that he deserves.
Yes.
But shirk is just an extrapolated version of that.
Yes.
Sorry, sihr. Right? Sihr is an extrapolated version of this form of disrespect to Allah. It's not in covert worship something along with Allah. It's the open,
overt. It's overt.
You know, overt.
Yes, like you are
insult, humiliating the book of Allah, etc. Anyway, let's get back to our map.
All right.
So allow share this entire screen.
Okay.
You got me, Bilal?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, let's go.
Right.
So what obviously we're talking here about Guido von List's sacred gnosis in the Armanenschaft. There is only so much we know about what happened at the ultimate illumination here. But we do know, according to the research that has been made on the topic, is that they were initiated into using those 4 elements, and Guido von List brought in the 5th element, which is ether. Ether as in Ethereum blockchain. As the 5th element, which is the serpent. So ether is a serpent. So Guido von List didn't invent ether. This is already something which is present in mythological and esoteric, you know, madahib from previous.
Yeah.
And so ether is the element that makes everything possible. And we'll get back to that later, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah.
So this is the summary of what Guido von List was doing. And I would like to point out something very interesting, that when I saw it for the first time some 15 years ago approximately, it really blew me away. So we have this hadith that Imam Muslim reported in his authentic book from Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered us to kill dogs, to the point where the woman would come from the Badia, you know, Bedouin woman would come to town, and, you know, we would just kill her dog. Then after a certain time, the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from killing dogs, except for, he said, عليكم بالأسود البهيم ذي النقطتين فإنه شيطان. What does this mean here? So except there is one type of dog that you still should kill,
Yes.
And it's the dog that is completely black.
Pure black dog. Yes.
Pure
Oh.
black dog with
Mm-hmm.
2 white spots above his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bilal or anybody in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
have you ever in your life seen a dog that fits that description?
With 2 white spots.
A dog is completely black and he has a white spot over each eye.
I have never seen something like that. No. I've never
All
seen
right.
something like
I
that.
have never seen something like that in real life.
Yes, in real life. Yeah.
However,
But you know what, Abdullah? There are people recorded, and even you can find, and we're not talking about Muslims, we're talking about non-Muslims who have seen this, right? And they have stories behind it. And they call it the black dog. They actually call it that. Right?
Bilal,
Yeah. Go ahead. Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
you cannot make this up.
Whoa! Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Bro, you know who else saw this? You know, what's the son of Sam's name? I can't remember his name. But the serial killer, his name is the son of Sam. He saw it. He said he spoke to a black dog that ordered him to kill all those people, right? Son of Sam.
Right.
You have truck drivers who have an entire thing about this the same type of black dog, right? And they're saying that you know, before they crash or whatever, they seen a black dog, right?
SubhanAllah al-Azim.
Yeah, we're not
Look, it's
yeah.
I don't know if you know Paulo Coelho.
Who?
Paulo Coelho.
Paulo Coelho? No.
All right, so he's a famous and he's gotten more and more famous over recent years. Christian esoteric writer. So he has books like The Alchemist. What was that book that I read from him? The Pilgrim. That's the book that I read from him. Oh yeah, subhanallah, ya akhi, this book, ya Bilal. So it's basically he is already teaching you sihr and messing with the unseen right in there in that book. So he describes the pilgrimage of someone who is initiated into a Christian esoteric sect. So it's the pilgrimage to Compostelle, which is a grave in northwest Spain, above Portugal. And there is different ways of doing this pilgrimage. If you're doing the full one, you're actually starting from the French border. So you're going the whole north of Spain on foot, and there is a master that appears. So you have to ask, you have to ask within your fraternity, your group, your sect, whatever you want to call it. You need to ask for permission to go and do this pilgrimage, and they will arrange it for you. And then you're giving a meeting point and a meeting time. And then when the pilgrim goes there, the master appears to him. And he tells him where to go and what to do along the way. And then when he reaches the next station, which is like days of walk away, the master reappears to him. All right. And in that pilgrimage, Paulo Coelho, he describes the fight of the black dog.
Wow.
And he's actually quoting
this theme comes over and over in like real stories, real life history. Anyways, go ahead.
Exactly. But what you see here is that Hitler and the doggy, they seem pretty cool with each other, don't they?
Yes.
All right. And you wonder why. Well, the underlying ideology of Uncle Adolf, it's just full of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. 100%. Yes.
So now a last thing that we need to consider with Guido von List is that the reason why he was able to actually push this ideology onto the public and why his readings and his theater plays and all his works were popular is because German had what was called the Völkisch culture. So the Völkisch culture, Völkisch, it literally means populist. Volk is population, And ish is, like ist is the suffix of attribution.
Yeah.
So this folkish culture, you could observe it through many fraternities like Boy Scouts and other things along those lines. Also for adults that would have nature outings, summer camps, and cultural events, and all this stuff was always mixed up with paganism and nationalism. So there was always this theme of us Germans from not from an like from the Germanen, all right, not necessarily everybody who lives within our borders, but us, the original people from this region, and whatever their pagan practices was from back in the day. So here you have a picture of Guido von List at an Armanis pilgrimage, which is, the pagan gate. This was before World War One. So List is the third one from the left, according to Wikipedia here. So that's him right here. And, this is the kind of stuff that was out there. And this was a typical folkish, how to say, publication. So it's just to show you that there was a lot going on in Germany that was very compatible with this kind of belief system that Guido von List had designed for this extreme racist and race elitism, demigodism, esoteric stuff that he laid out for the population. But we're now going to go on to the next villain. My dear brother Bilal, Jörg Glanz von Liebenfels.
Okay.
You ever heard of this dude?
Never, ever.
Bilal. Jörg Glanz von Liebesfeld was raised in a Catholic family, and he ended up becoming a monk. So he joined the Cistercian order in 1893, but then he left 6 years later. And the reason why he left the order is because he had a dream of a scene of the Crusaders raiding Jerusalem and slaughtering Muslims. And after he had this dream, according to what is said about him, he was kind of like guided to the tomb of a crusader, and he with a group of people, he removed the big tombstone that is covering the tomb, not the one that is erected with the name on it.
Yeah.
All right, the one that is literally covering the grave. And supposedly he found an in relief engraved onto the stone inside the image of a crusader killing some strange creature. And so he took this as a call and a message that these crusaders had passed on to them, that they must be on a mission as them superior beings to kill these, what he calls the apelings. So supposedly this image here pictures the this engraved picture that he saw on that tomb grave. I have seen other ones. Okay, it's just that this one here is one that was just available to me.
Okay.
So he left the Christian order and he founded the Ordo Novi Templi, the New Templars order. And this happened to be their seal. And they are you still there, Bilal? Did I lose
Which
you?
happened to be their seal? You're talking about the Nazi flag?
This here, no, this is not the Nazi flag. The Nazi flag is red and white and black. But this thing here.
Time out. I thought you were going to show us something different. Right? I'm wondering why this Nazi thing with the French whatever process is there. You're telling me that's their flag? The
That
swastika,
was the flag of
the swastika with the whatever those French
that's
crosses,
called
whatever.
in French we call it fleur de lis. I don't know what it's called in English,
Mhm.
but it's once again this is an esoteric symbol
Mhm.
that is supposed to help you gain strength and whatnot. Whatever.
Wow. How do you say it in French again?
Fleur de lis, flower of lis.
Oh, okay.
I carried this symbol a long time in my youth, brother, when I was a Boy Scout. That was
We have the same thing here in Canada. Exactly the same. That's how we know, because the Quebecers, they use that same symbol, right? Right.
And it is an absolute typical European pagan mushrik esoteric thing. So they would they would carry this on their shields and their coats of arms and
Yes.
all right.
Yes.
And
So
so
that
we know
swastika with the fleur de lis, that's their flag.
that's their flag.
How did he end up with the swastika?
Let's talk about it. Let's
Okay,
talk about it.
go ahead.
So we know very little about this particular secret society. We know that their headquarters was in Burgwerfenstein in Austria. So it's a very nice location. You have the Danube River, no, the Donau, sorry. You have the Donau flowing right here underneath. So there was, I read about some kind of opening ceremony when they acquired that particular castle. But what really happened inside, we don't really know. Now, so what do we know from Liebenfeld's writings? So from the things he's talking about is what is called dualism. So dualism, you see, you have this is kind of an approach to understanding beliefs. So you have monism, which is all types of wahdat al-wujud. Everything is one. Then you have dualism, where you have two things that are clashing. And then you have pluralism, where you have multiple things that are interacting, clashing, aligning, disaligning, whatever. So in some of his writings, or let's say his most explicit writings, were a form of dualism, where you had the Aryo-Christians and Frauja. Frauja is Jesus in Gothic. Now, don't expect me to be able to explain to you how the heck he came up with that. Battling the sub-races. That's one of the main themes of his writings.
Yep. And
So
what's his name again? Sorry.
Jurglanz von Liebenfels.
Yeah, because I guess it's very difficult to pronounce. Right, we definitely gotta look this guy up for sure. All right, so go ahead, continue there.
Yeah, well. So somehow, once again, you see, he's talking about dualism in most of his writings, but then researchers have said, hey, yo, listen here. He's also talking about monism. يعني وحدة الوجود, which brings us right back to what Blavatsky was talking about, the fundamental union between God and the souls of all beings and the creation.
Yes.
So once again, we see that you smell with this dude here that there is a aqidah for the common people, and there is another one for the elite.
Elites, yes. Exactly.
But what he was the most famous for is his book, or his whole ideology of theozoology.
Okay. What?
Theozoology.
Zoology for animals, you mean?
Yep.
Okay. Explain this for me now.
So here you have, look, just look at the logo. The imagery here, and you can see an awful lot of things right here. So you have guys. This is one of the prints of his book. Yeah. So you have the Crusaders, more specifically the Templars.
Yeah, and they have the sword on this monkey man, right? Whatever.
Exactly.
That's supposed to be apeling. Yeah, apeling.
the apeling. All right. And then you have all these kind of bizarre
This is a snake or a rope?
shapes.
Looks like a
Sorry?
snake to me. Is this a snake or a rope? It looks like a snake. They're holding a snake or a rope.
Allahu alam. I can't
Yeah.
really tell. It does kind of look like a snake. It could be a chain. You know, you have this kind of,
The
you know,
nine
design here
whatever.
that somehow looks a bit familiar.
Yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes.
just the design idea.
Design, yes, yes. Yeah.
Not the exact shape, but just the design behind it.
Yes.
Okay. So, my dear brother Bilal, theozoology comes from theo, so you know, aqidah, etc., and zoology, the animals.
Yes.
Theozoology, or the science of the sodomite apelings and the divine electron.
So the divine electron, is this going back to Odin again?
Mm-mm.
No?
You see, he comes from a Christian paradigm.
Okay. Okay.
So what this dude here did,
Mm-hmm.
he took certain texts from the Bible,
Mhm.
like, for example, you know, the fallen angels
Yes.
and these kind of things. He added some of his own spices to it, done a little shaky with it,
Mhm.
and he came up with this myth of the Aryan god race
Mhm.
that fell from race through interbreeding.
Mm.
So they were breeding with these other sub races, and this is what gave us what we have today. We have all these humans today with all their different shapes and colors.
Mhm.
And the further away they're from the pure white Aryan looks,
Mhm.
the closer they are to the apelings.
Mm.
Right?
So
And
that's
the
a counter story to the biblical version of Nephilim, right? Where in the Bible, I'm not sure how familiar you are with that.
I'm not very familiar with it.
Well, basically, there's a story in the Bible where the angels they basically procreated with human beings, and then these giants.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one I was referring to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one. You know, like the angels that fell
The name
from grace.
that to them is Nephilim.
Exactly. That's exactly what he was. That's the foundation of what he has deducted this aqidah here from.
Mm-hmm.
So now this is very interesting. As I say, there is always this theme of leaving the human condition. So how, according to Lantz, will the Aryan race move away from the human condition and become a god race again? Their redemption will be to purifying the race again through extreme eugenics.
Mm.
All right. And this is how we got, okay, let's leave that for later. And then he's talking about the divine electron.
Mm-hmm.
So the divine electron is the spiritual energy. In other words, it is once again this energy that is flowing through the universe, and it's a matter of harnessing it in order to, you know, develop yourself spiritually and you know, gain powers that normal human beings don't have. So you see, this thing is also now the third time that we're seeing this. So
Yes.
Lantz is talking about this. Here we have just spoken about Guido von List saying, you know, it's the fifth element. It's the thing that makes everything possible. So harnessing ether, harnessing the serpent. And we know, you know, serpent is a form of jinn. No, sorry, there's a form of jinn that are serpents. Okay. And then we had, back when we were speaking about Blavatsky, she had this thing called Fohat. God's instrument is Fohat. And Fohat, I don't remember, Fohat is a generic term used in many senses. It highlights the whatever of all the three logo, personified symbols, blah, blah, blah. Fohat is the aggregate of all spiritual creative ideations above and the electrodynamic and creative forces below in heaven and on earth. All right, this is what Blavatsky says in one of her writings. So once again, it's this energies that are all around us and that these guys are trying to harness. And what do you get from that? you get Uncle Adolf sitting with the doggy.
Wow, man, this is so crazy, man. This is so crazy. Oh my gosh, man. Wow.
So let us read what some have said about von List, Liebenfeld, sorry, not List. So within a year, Lanz published his fundamental statement of doctrine in its very titled Theologie oder die Kunde der von den Sodoms, Afflingen und dem Götterelektron. Theology and the lore of the Sodom Aplings and the electron of the gods. Distills the Gnostic essence of Lanz's thought. It was a strange amalgam of religious belief drawn from the traditional Judeo-Christian sources, yet modified in light of new life sciences, hence theozoology.
Yeah.
The book repeated the basic hypothesis of the earlier article within and expanded a scheme of biblical interpretation spanning from both testaments. The first section sought to understand the origin of the nature of the pygmies. So the pygmies, all right, so let's go on. 4 chapters entitled Gaia, Earth, Pygmy, Water, Per, Fire, and Aether, Air, describe the satanic realm by relating the story of the first pygmy called Adam.
Oh my goodness. Wow, man.
Who spawned the race of the beast men Anthropozoa.
Wow, man. That is
So wait, let me just translate this stuff. So this dude is telling you that you have this good Aryan white folks that are God people, and then you have these apelings. Then these are, you know, the vile beast men. And where do these apelings come from? Adam alayhi salam.
wow. Wow, man. That is crazy. And
So as I said, yeah.
And these are supposed to be like right here. There are like this particular issue right here that you'll find like certain cults, they believe this type of thing, right? Where
Brother, the clearest proof that these guys were serious about this is what we have, you know, spoken about briefly in our previous live. And it's this thing right here. It's the Lebensborn. So Lebensborn in German, it means the well of life. And it's those covenant kind of places that were run by the SS, where they would source these fine white ladies.
Yep.
And the SS officer would come, and you see how, you know, you had gardens. So you had like, it was fully equipped with you know, maternity kind of hospital equipment for giving birth, etc.
Yes.
And you know, you had these ladies in these bedrooms, and the SS officer would come there, and the lady would get pregnant. Details on this you can find in biology books.
Real life Handmaid's Tale.
Absolutely.
A real life
And this shows you, how serious they were about this belief right here, that the redemption of the Aryan race would be through the purifying of the race through extreme eugenics. Then also Lanz is famous for this publication right here, Ostara. So Ostara was a periodical, it was a magazine that was launched before World War One. I do not know when it stopped, but basically this whole ideology was laid out bit by bit for the masses in this magazine right here. Here you have another publication of Ostara, where you see, you know, the crusader about to smash the apeling right here.
Yeah.
All right, so you have here, you have the Aryan.
Don't move it yet. Just 1 second. I'm gonna try to switch it. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Right, so here you have the you know, the Aryan white man, you know, and the Crusaders smashing the apeling.
Yes.
So that was the aqidah with the dynamic that was being laid out.
Yes.
So number one, you have the belief system, and number two, he is telling you the action that is required by this belief system is to eliminate all the sub races for the Aryans to prosper as a root race on Earth again.
And this right here, because we did talk about eugenics on the channel like more than once, obviously, right? And we mentioned that this eugenics in itself is a white supremacist ideology, right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it is.
Yeah,
it is one of the main results.
Yeah,
is on the one hand you have the concentration camps, and on the other hand you have eugenics.
Yes.
It's eugenics for the white folks, and it's concentration camps for everybody else.
Yes, but now we have like a very direct link to the esoteric and you could say like the occult aspect of that belief into the actual politics and whatchamacallit, carrying out the ideas of eugenics into the wider society, right?
Yes.
So
yes, absolutely.
it continues up until this day because a lot of the lingo and the politics is hasn't really changed that much, right? So you'll find, for example, in the US, right, where they talk about a thing called great replacement theory, right? The great
yeah
replacement
yeah
where all where white man is being replaced by these immigrants and whatnot, and so we have to protect our white lineage and whatnot, and they won't say white. What they'll use language to kind of hide behind what they mean. They say Americans, so
yeah.
White, but they mean by Americans, they mean white folk. That's what they mean, right? Right. So because the population of white folks is now, it's not increasing, it's completely like steadfast, and in some places is dwindling because white people are the ones who brought this eugenics theory. White people are the ones who brought keep your family small, and now they're seeing the consequences of all that, and they're blaming immigrants, right? But I
absolutely
I digress.
absolutely
But
and you know what you're talking about, Bilal. As I had alluded here, but with Guido von List, he was talking about this as well, and he actually wrote a book about this called Sexual Religion. So it is exactly what you're saying, like white folks gotta reproduce.
Yeah.
and so I didn't read the book, nor do I have any intention of doing so. But like from what I read about the book, it's all about, you gotta get it going on.
Yeah.
And
then you have people today repeating the exact same talking points that eugenicists have said, like this white people, like for example, Nick Fuentes, who again was being pushed and popularized by certain Muslim personalities like Daniel Hikichu.
Absolutely.
Who overtly said, yes, you should listen to people like Nick Fuentes, who always repeats white people need to have more babies.
Yeah.
Right? He's always repeating that, right? And nobody's stopping white people from reproducing except for
themselves.
Except for themselves, right? They're the ones they're the ones who pushed the eugenics program, trying to weaponize it against other races, but then accepted it as a part of their culture, and now they're seeing what it's doing and blaming the other races for what they accepted.
Absolutely. Look, in Luxembourg, the average number of children is 1.2 per couple.
Yeah.
1.2. Oh my days, Yaki.
Yeah. I mean, they did this in. Remember Mao, who studied a lot of this eugenic stuff and communism and whatnot. When he became what is they called, grand leader? I can't remember what they call him in China there, right? But
the chairman Mao.
Yeah, Chairman Mao. Yeah, right. So one of the first things he did is he started slaughtering his own people, like en masse. Implemented this one-child policy, right? And now, 50 years later, the Chinese have a population where it's all seniors, and the younger population cannot take care of their parents, and they're becoming seniors, right? The younger population turning into seniors themselves, and it's like a so now they want to try to pay their people to have children now, and the people themselves, they don't want to have kids because they're seeing how the country's being run, right? But I digress. The whole point is that the devilish, occultish element to this, right, is so deep, man. Like, this is crazy stuff, man. And on the surface, it looks devilish, but to make that connection between this type of occultish behavior, that's crazy, man. Crazy. Sorry about that. That's a long rant, but
no, but I'm you know, we're gonna have to have a third episode if you're up for it, Bilal. Because
let's do it, man. Let's do it, man. Like, this is so this is crazy. I'm gonna put the link in the chat if anybody has any questions.
And I want to say about good old Haqiqaju and his his thing that when you remember, Bilal, like you sent me his tweet. I changed phones, so I don't have this old part of our conversation anymore. Where he's saying, this is the list of white supremacists that Muslims can listen to. Yeah. And then somebody challenged him.
They don't say white supremacists anymore. They always hide behind language. So now, because they know white supremacist is very, at least a bad taste, right? They say
it's aggressive.
Right,
far right. Yes, far right. As a matter of fact, that is the politically correct cover for this particular thing. So somebody challenged him in the comment, and then he had the audacity to say, well, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Medina, he had he had an alliance with the Jews. Well, will you say that this is wala to the kuffar, and this taking the kuffar as awliya? Yeah, subhanallah.
That's very audacious of him.
So what did the Prophet ﷺ do in Medina with the Jews? They had what we would call in German we call this Beistandspact. It means that we have a pact of standing with each other. So first of all, I don't attack you, you don't attack me, but anybody attacks you, I'll back you up, and anybody attacks me, you got to back me up. That is what the Prophet ﷺ had with the Jews in Medina. And it stayed in place up until the Battle of the Trench, when the Jews betrayed the Prophet ﷺ because they saw, okay, this is with this big coalition that has been raised against the Muslims now, we need to join that coalition because it's our opportunity to get rid of them once and for all. So that pact lasted until then. So where does the Prophet Muhammad say, oh, Muslims, y'all can go and listen to this and that rabbi, in Bani Qurayda's castle, and it's okay to go listen to him? The whole point of what I have just exposed to you, what we've been speaking about. You see their publications.
Yeah. You
see, like these guys here. So the Nazi Party, they had something during the Weimarer Republik, like between the two world wars. Yeah. They had something called the SA, Sturmabteilung, which means the storm department. So those were literally street guerrilla groups. And Bilal, they were in the tens of thousands. So whenever there would be a rally of Nazi event or whatnot, the Sturmabteilung, they would show up and they would stand security, and they would be prepared to fight back, be it the Weimar government, if they tried to do something about it, or the Reds, because the Reds, they had the same thing. So the Communist Party, the early Communist Party in that day and age, they had it had a special name. I forgot it now. I think it's called the Red Fighters or something like that. So they were just the communist version of the SA, and they would clash in the street in extremely violent battles. You know, people would get their skulls busted on the pavement with nightsticks, and it was extremely bloody. And so you see that that's not how. So that was a thing, but this is not how the Nazi Party thrived. They thrived through their mouthpieces.
Yes.
Guido von List, Lanz, Ostara Magazine, Blavatsky with all her societies that were publishing all that stuff. And now you telling Muslims you gotta connect to these kuffar mouthpieces?
Folks, yeah. For those folks, yeah. Somebody
What kind of munafiq are you?
Emotional damage.
Somebody
That's what it
make
is, man.
sense. Okay, 1 second. We're gonna bring on Mike. 1 second. Let's see what you got. Mike, what you got for us?
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Hi,
good.
Mike. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I think the guys you're talking about in the West, we know them as the brown shirts, the Strom something, right? The Nazi paramilitary guys.
Oh, could be. Yeah. I mean, in German, they, you know, it was the SA Sturmabteilung.
Yeah,
It was kind of like a branch of the Nazi Party before it had taken power, and
Right.
it was really a battle force in the streets
Right.
of Germany.
Right, and that wasn't the night of the long knives or something when they ransacked all the Jewish businesses and stuff.
Yeah, that was that was that's how it's called in it's bizarre how the English terminology differs. In German, they
Or
call
the
it
night
the
of
Weiße
broken
Kristallnacht.
glass.
No, the White Crystal Night.
Oh, the white crystal night. Yeah.
Yeah, the Weiße Kristallnacht. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, what's your question
yeah.
there, Mike?
Yeah. Oh, I was wondering. I don't know if either you two guys know the fatwa by Ibn Nuhas on the Druze and the Alawites, given the current situation in Syria.
And then who is he?
Ibn Taymiyyah, maybe I'm saying it wrong. He's like a huge. He's like Sheikh al-Islam.
Mike, ask a question related to the topic.
No, it's cool.
Like-
It's cool, Bilal. It's cool. Let's talk. It's
Go
cool,
ahead.
Akhi.
I think he's talking about Ibn Taymiyyah, right?
Yeah.
The
Ibn Taymiyyah.
fatwa against the Alawites that he made.
Yeah. So his fatwa was they're apostates and they should be killed, and same with the Druze, I think.
Well, the killed, no, they should be fought. There's a difference. You see, when you have groups like that live on the Muslim lands, they are to be how to say, limited. They have to be contained. But there has it has happened, especially with the Shia. You know, the Alawites are a form of Shia, the form of extreme Shia. So there have been cases where you have like fringe groups like that have been eliminated, but it's always very, very small. But usually they only get eliminated once they themselves pose a military threat to the government in place. And the Alawites, they have always been some kind of bizarre fringe group that was living on the edges of society, and they have been violent in many occasions towards the, you know, whoever was bordering them, whether they were Sunnis or other. And so the fatwa was that they were fought just like the Cathars. They were fought in medieval Europe. Now the Cathars, obviously, the Catholic Church has committed massacres under the name of fighting the Cathars. There was literally, it was called a crusade. So you have a region in southern France called Languedoc. So that was kind of like where Cathars were thriving. The army, so the Pope had promised absolution, means like your sins will be forgiven, do whatever the heck you want, just get rid of these Cathars for me. so the army general, when he sieged the city, he said, all right, kill everyone and God will know his own. This is like a famous statement of history of what happened in that particular instance. And they ended up raiding the city, and they have slaughtered absolutely every human being in that city, Cathar and other. So, but the reality is that the Cathars are a violent group, and they had, the old man in the mountain in the Pyrenees, and they would raid neighboring villages and cities and towns, and they would spread like underground routes and pop up in different places and do this kind of things. So it was not just the heresy; it was the heresy and the killing. And it's the same thing with the so-called Alawites, which are the Nusayriya in reality. Alawites, that's just an aesthetic label they like to put on themselves.
It's a modern term.
They came around in the early 1900s, Alawites. So, yeah. And you
as the label, but the Nusayriya, they've been around for centuries.
Right. Sure.
All right. And it's the same thing with the Druze. The Druze are likewise an esoteric Gnostic group, and you have a theme with these kind of fringe Gnostic groups where because they reach a certain level of purity, they become better than everyone else. It becomes their right to raid and kill whatever's around them, and that's what the Druze have been doing at different points in time, just like the Nusayriya. And this is what the fatwa of fighting them is about. Now there is a difference between fighting the group and executing the ideological leaders. Those are two different things. So the execution of the ideological leaders, that's without a doubt something that we will back up. And in the case of what we have spoken about here, your Guido von List and Lanz, yeah, I mean, if we were in charge, we would hunt these dudes down and we'll make them shorter than they are, because that's really the head of the snake, and leaving these guys around is what gave you World War II.
That's interesting. The EF Dawa guy, I don't know how you say his name, it's spelled like Ijaz, said the same thing. He's like, no, we wouldn't kill them all. We'll just kill the leaders.
Yeah.
Like he's cut the head off.
Well, look, Mike, you have to understand that we when you have I don't know how much have you been following of my presentation here.
I've been watching for a while. I got put in them out a few times, but
so you got the gist that these heads, they what their job is to instill an ideology into people. So these people, you could claim that they're not doing any harm, they're just speaking out their ideas. Okay. Why is this insistence on ideas so important to them? Because they know that the idea, the ideology, the thing that you believe is what is going to dictate your action. And the whole energy and the whole wealth that they have put into spreading this ideology was the necessary foundation for the action that followed, which was the concentration camps, the World War II. I mean, if you look at what Hitler did in Poland at which was the start of the war before it became a world war, Hitler invaded Poland, and Poland was crushed from the east by Russia and from the west by Hitler. And then they had a joint march in the capital city, the German, and I can imagine that the German armies and the communist armies, they had a joint march with military music and whatnot, a parade inside of the city after they had taken over the country and killed an incredible amount of people, and split up the territory between them two after that.
Sure.
Why?
Sure.
Why was
Chamberlain was an idiot to say I've secured peace in our time, when he capitulated to Hitler, obviously. signed a peace treaty with Hitler. But my concern is, like, you guys talked about secularism and atheism. I'm a secular atheist, right?
Yeah.
I'm no great leader. I hope you wouldn't behead me at any point. But,
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. But I don't want to see Islam take over America. I don't want to see it ruled.
Right.
I don't want to see Sharia in American lands.
Right.
I'm getting pretty old now. I doubt it would ever happen in my lifetime, but if I had to, I think I would take up arms to fight a caliph invading army that wants to impose Sharia on us. You know,
right.
It's funny, like, you guys are like, we get to invade you to bring the truth, the hawk, to you, but if you fight us, then you're the devil. You know.
No. Wait.
I got this one, Abdullah. I got this one, Abdullah.
Okay.
All right. You are an atheist white man coming to us and telling us about invading who? Invading who?
But you invading me.
Which country have you atheist white folks not invaded? Right? Up until this very day, America is all over the world causing havoc and chaos all across the entire planet, right? Especially and particularly in rich, resource wealthy Muslim lands, but you don't want to be invaded by the very Muslims that you're invading. So imagine this now, right? No Muslim is coming over to America invading you. The reason why you are afraid is because your folks are accepting Islam in mass droves by their own volition, by their own will. People are rejecting atheism. Because atheism in itself, when you look at atheism, the whole concept behind atheism is exactly like a religion. There's no real difference, right? You have to force yourself to believe that there is not a God. And it's easy to prove that there is a God than there isn't a God. But that's a different story for a different day, right?
Okay.
White folks came to the Americas, exterminated the native Indians.
True.
Okay. Kidnapped millions of black folk from West Africa and Southern Africa, brought them over to the Americas, all over the Americas, treated black folk like cattle. Said that black folks were 3/5 of a human being in your country, not to mention massacring them and slaughtering them in Argentina, right? Not to mention breeding them out in Colombia, and not to mention just recently in 2015, black people were recognized as people in Mexico. But you don't want to be invaded? You are the first people that should be invaded. I'm sorry to say. You should be invaded because of all the chaos and havoc that you cause throughout the earth, right? And the second that you decide that you want to pick up arms against those people who worship God and God only and fear God and God only, be our guest, and we will see, where the truth lies.
Okay. Well, I guess I look forward to your invasion. This will be interesting.
No, Mike, wait, slow down.
God is greater than our technology.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna bring in another question. Thanks.
No, wait. Let me Bilal.
Okay,
let me address something. Look, Mike. Another issue is that your regular Muslim has no intention of invading the West. What you have is that you have
that's good to hear.
You have an awful lot of people that, like right now in Europe, including my country, Luxembourg, we have a crisis of Syrian refugees due to wars and havoc that is being wreaked in our lands. And now with the fall of Bashar, we hope that this is going to be reversed. But you see, you cannot just look at this particular issue without looking at all the rest that is happening around you. The West is keeping an extremely tight grip on the rest of the world, including the Muslim countries, and preventing these countries to gain stability, to develop economically. Your whole mechanism with the super state institution like the World Bank and the IMF, they have kept
USA.
a lot of Muslim countries as well as other countries impoverished and in debt to the West, and it's been enabling the West to softly raid these countries for their resources, etc., etc. So you have a lot of immigration towards America and the West because your leadership decided to open the doors for immigrants in order to do jobs that they don't want white folks to do. And also, let me explain to you my perception of why your elites are keeping some of you white folks impoverished. For a very simple reason that in order to get loyal cannon fodder, you need a certain level of hardship and poverty, because you are not going to keep up your armies strictly with militaristic ideology. So the US is probably the country in the world that has the most developed militaristic ideology pushed onto its people, and we keep the flow of recruits going. However, this is not enough. If you actually look at statistics on people who join, the special ops divisions of the U.S. military, the Marines, the SEALs, etc., you see that very often they're people that have social issues, and because these people are good recruits, that these systems are very skilled at taking on, kind of putting in line, get them to do what you got to do for us, being a ruthless killer. And then, when we leave you out there, if you want to leave the whole scene of killing, well, you go back to society, and very often you'll be messed up again, because the way we have drilled you is to be loyal to us, but not be able to do certain things once you go out there. Or we have the whole private military sector that will absorb you, and you'll still be of use for that. So this is the reason why I believe that they are specifically keeping a lot of white people impoverished, because it keeps that flow of recruits going. But on the other hand, is something that you need to be very aware of, is that whenever you see one of the guys that look like us with the big turban and the big beard and talk about Sharia and Sharia for the West and this and that, well, it's just a matter of time until he gets exposed as being the front, end of a propaganda machine run by a Western intelligence.
How many times have we seen this? How many times have we seen this?
Yeah.
Right? Right. Abu Hamza in Britain. Okay? We've seen it with
the hook for hands guy.
Yeah.
He's got the hooks where he's missing an eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says the cow in the coffer. You find a coffer, and the guy sitting next to him filming, who looks very nervous, like he's looking at his own phone.
With all due respect,
says, if you find a coffer, he's like a cow. You take him to the market. If you can't sell him, you kill him. It makes Allah happy. Read your books of jihad.
But with all due respect,
and he was
Mike. Right. First of all these jihadis that you're afraid of, when you trace them,
I'm not afraid. I'll be all right.
They're always projects of the United States government to begin with. Agent Usman, who is Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein. If you look at the Taliban came up because they were a project from the United States against the.
Obviously, we backed the Mujahideen.
Yes. And then you say that
the ISI.
Mind you, ain't nobody invading. Which Muslim coming around to invade America? Who's going to?
Yeah, I don't think any of you have the capabilities of invading America.
Ain't nobody doing.
That's why you get these little one-off little shots.
What is happening? Americans are accepting Islam. They're accepting Islam. Because why? Because they want to go to paradise. They want to go to Jannah.
I don't think there's 5 million Muslims in America still.
They're believing in God, right? I'm a convert. Abdullah's a convert. Abu Yazid's a convert. We're all converting to Islam. People are converting to Islam. You're not going to stop that. You can hate it as much as you want. The only thing you can do is get with it or get out the way. That's it. right?
Well, can I stand in the way?
I digress.
Mike,
That's a
look.
different topic for a different day because that's not the topic of the live. I wanted to stick to the topic of the live. I hope
right,
you don't mind,
My
right?
bad. So,
Assalamu alaikum.
back-
Other people speak because got Abu Wazir, we got points of light. You came in first. Go ahead, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Islam.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam wa
Great.
barakatuh.
Great show so far. Great show. Great show. A lot of great information. Just to touch on point, Mike the atheist. I'm an American. Well, you say America, America runs from Canada down to the tip of South America. So specifically the United States of America. I'm indigenous to North America. My ancestors didn't come through Ellis Island or on a ship or airplane. So it's funny to me when I see these children of immigrants, have this attitude. This is my country, and I don't want these people to come invade. It's a little funny to me, but you brothers pointed out nobody's coming to invade North America. If anything, the people who run this nation are hell bent on war of aggression against the various 10 billion people on the earth. And as far as immigration, the Trump administration and the new Doge department being ran by Vivek and Elon, they've made it clear that they need immigrants to come in and do the high-tech, high-end engineering jobs that that the people who voted for Trump aren't smart enough or educated enough to perform. As you said, they purposely keep the rural people who vote for Trump in a state of poverty, so they have no other option than to do things like enlist in the military. Majority of people enlist in the military because of poverty or a lack of opportunity, and they go through that system and they end up coming out the other end either hurt or not having any opportunity to fall back on once they leave the military. So there's a lot of propaganda, and there's a lot of fear mongering, and this is a way of controlling people, manipulating people. But back to the actual show and the actual topic before everything got diverted. We see the occult and satanic roots of white supremacy. That's clear. And the fact that, anybody, I don't know who these people are, what they're connected to, who funds them online, because at this point, I'm so suspicious of anybody online at this point. It's the biggest CIA psyop that you've seen in history of people trying to corral Muslims into listening to white supremacists. It's just crazy. It's insane.
Go ahead, brother Abdullah.
I mean, what is there to say? Reacting to more to what Mike was saying and going back to what I was presenting, you see this and also what CL was just pointing out right now. When you have these supposed Muslims that are calling for slaughtering people, etc., one of the main things that the Nazi regime thrived upon is instilling the dynamic of us versus them. This is always very important. You see, in a society that is mixed, there has to be a certain there has to be an aspect of segregation where, okay, you can do your thing there and they can do their thing there and we do our thing there. And then there is common ground and there are rules for working on the common ground. And this is how Muslim societies have been operating. The West doesn't function like that. The West wants people to come and be assimilated. And the most blatant example of that is France. Sarkozy, qatalahullah, he stated it explicitly. I do not want Islam in France. I want French Islam. Now, what is French Islam? You see it today in France with all these neo-preachers that are really just watering down Islam from its foundations in order to make it this kind of cosmetic thing that certain things will wear in society, while from a fundamental level just be like everyone else. And this is the you know, when I've spoken about the Western atheism model, this hedonistic, materialistic view of the world being instilled, but you know, for the woman with a small headscarf, with the man, you know, I don't know, wearing, you know, either a very short beard or, you know, a kufiya or something like that. That's the model that the West wants. And the West, in order, like, from the different strategies that they are that they're implementing in order to get to this, is the vilification of whoever doesn't tune into that. So whoever who says that, no, Islam is 1, 2, 3, this is how it works, this is how we're supposed to behave, this is what we're supposed to do, this is what we're supposed to stay away from. It is not okay for us to get drunk and, you know, do LSD, etc. It is not okay for us to, you know, sleep with whoever, male or female, etc. Anything that goes against this model will be vilified and portrayed as a terrorist. Now, you see, when you look at terrorists, real terrorists in the world, you see that there are certain hallmarks that they have. Usually, they're going to be somehow government sponsored. Like, for example, Carlos. I don't know if y'all know about Carlos. He was, I believe he was French. He was declared a public enemy, and he was an extremely skilled mercenary. And he would take people to different training grounds around the world and set up a terrorist group in order to then, you know, fulfill the agenda of whoever is bankrolling the whole thing. So he is just an example. And but you know, there's these hallmarks. They're very they thrive on a certain ideology, but there is always a certain military background that comes along with it. The Muslim terrorists, no, they're somehow different. They're all fat. All right? You see, they're all fat, dude. Like, you know, the guy Sharia for UK, my man, the dude could be rolled over the floor, my brother. All right? And when you dig a bit deep, like, okay, where is your, so you claim to be preaching Islamic ideology. Where is the stuff you have been preaching other than this particular thing right here? Could you explain wudu to us? No, you can't. You know, chapter 1 from the books of fiqh. Can you explain that? No, you can't. All right. Well, actually, if we were to test you about wudu, maybe you wouldn't even know how to do it properly. Forget explaining it. Likewise, they had a sister group in Belgium.
Sharia for Belgium. Right.
Sharia for Belgium. All right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amjad Chandri couldn't do wudu.
So this guy from Sharia for Belgium.
You're saying Amjad Chandri couldn't do wudu?
It's talking about Anjum Chaudhry.
Amjad Chandri, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we never tested him, but he would not be able to give us a lesson about wudu. Because from a strictly Islamic knowledge point of view, they have no foundation. And this guy from Sharia for Belgium, he was challenged by just some regular Moroccan imam from Holland. His first question was, where did you study Sharia? And it was over right there. You never studied nothing. You are not able to give a basic lesson on any basic topic, but you know about politics the Muslim way, supposedly. And so this guy from Sharia for Belgium, he had one Aqidah lesson online, which was what?
Of course.
Takfir.
What else would it be?
how to make takfir. You cannot make this up, brother. The dude is unable to explain any aqidah point whatsoever, but he is telling you about something that scholars tell you stay away from. Don't get involved in this.
Well, there's a couple.
And
If I
then
can say, there's
1 second, Mike. We got to get points of light in here. He's been waiting for a long time. Go ahead, points of light.
go for it.
Salaam Alaikum.
Salam.
Alaikum salam.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to dude up in the chat. Now I see why Tika told me stop engaging. I forgot who he was. I thought he was Muslim. I forgot he
that's
used to be up here.
royal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're royal in the chat.
Yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean,
I
I
don't
was
know
just
why you had to
listening.
stop engaging me, but okay.
I mean, I was just kind of listening to you, man. Like, and that kind of goes back to what brothers be saying about like white supremacy and this sort of thing. Like, you are one delusional dude, man. I mean, you got like a whole, like, just check the chronicles of like what your country have did to other people, and you're worried about people invading you. I mean,
No,
what are you
I'm
talking
not
about?
worried about it.
He reminds me of like the verse where Allah tells us in Surah Baqarah when Allah says, and when it's said to them, do not make mischief on earth. They say, we are the only ones who bring
We are
peace.
the
This
peacemakers.
this dude is like very delusional, man.
Like 2:6, right before you say their hearts are diseased. Allah has put a seal on their hearts. Yeah. We all know that one.
Well, I find it funny.
Yeah, but wait, hold on.
I mean,
So-
you say you know that though. I mean, that's the
Yeah, go
crazy
ahead,
thing.
Prince
You
Black.
sound like a guy
Continue.
who's like just like constantly like following Muslims and learning about Islam. And you still
There
have
you
this.
go.
You still
There you
have this
go.
sort of mentality that you have. Like, I agree with Bilal. Like, atheism is a religion or a way of life, a deen. Like, except for your religion is do as thy wilt.
Yeah,
But point
Whatever
to
my
light.
desires are,
Brother,
that's
point to light.
right. And then when you
Point to
think
light.
about it, hold on. If you think about it, like, atheism doesn't even make sense. Like what's the moral high ground that atheists would have? Like, you can't say anything is right or wrong. The best you could say is, I don't like it. Because there would be no right or wrong. It would vary from person to person. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you come up with all these, this is right, this is wrong, this is morally wrong, I don't agree with that. The best thing you can say is, I don't like it, I didn't find my people doing it. There's no objective truth from atheism. It would vary from person to person. And so that's all I wanted to say about that. Like, he's very delusional. Then to the brother, Abdullah, I wanted to ask him, like, the cult, what does the Yahoo fit in this? Because it seems like a lot of the cult, they deal with magic.
Okay.
The Yahoo knew about magic from like, probably like from like Babylon. And then some of their writings, they write about, they set up like Freemasonic lodges in Europe, and this is where they're gonna pick people, to sort of be politicians. This is where they draw them from. The people that they use sort of like front men.
Yeah. Well, the Yahud, just like any other group, have been infiltrated by the Gnostic Madahib. So I don't know if you have you watched like from the beginning of this stream right here, or did you tune in a bit later?
I came in a little late on this one.
Okay. Well, also, Mike, I don't know if you saw like what I spoke about atheism at the very beginning when I spoken about the esoteric model that gave us the atheist, the atheism that we know in the West today. I would suggest you refer back to that. It's at the very beginning of the stream.
Voltaire.
But you see,
it's been 30 years since I read Voltaire, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so you see, Gnosticism, it works as an undercurrent that appears from the occult world and infiltrates whatever is in that particular society. So the Jews have been infiltrated by Gnostic currents, and this is what has given the Jews this whole occult madahib that they have from Kabbalism and others.
Right.
But you cannot say that, first of all the Jews are upon that, nor that all the occult Jews are upon one thing. There is a lot of variations, and they're in
Right. There's a
conflict
lot
with
of
each other.
sectarianism going on even
Now,
with them.
absolutely, absolutely. And inshallah, in my next in the next video, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we're going to speak about what has one of the people I had mentioned in the previous live is the Thule Society and the man of the shadows behind the Thule Society and where his influence was from. And you will see that the Jews are not very far from that.
Yeah.
I'm answering your
Yeah. I
question,
think I
Point
understand.
Alive.
I get it. But I was just wondering that because, you know, if
Yeah.
you read like
I
the
mean, like,
protocols, they talk about how they set up like Freemasonic lodges, et cetera, et cetera. If you read like other their works, like you mentioned, you know, about the magic. And if you read the religious, like a lot of the rabbis, like they don't even believe like Suleiman alayhi salam was a prophet. They say he was just a king and like a magician. And you know, they try to use him as a model or as a justify of them practicing magic.
yes, yes. But you see, the problem is with this whole concept of esotericism is that lies muddy the water. The fact that they teach something here and something else there, you do actually not know what they really believe. And so the Grand Orient, the Freemasonic Lodge of France, there was a video that appeared. They let journalists attend the first, I would say, the first 10 minutes of an opening ceremony before a sitting of the lodge. And it's very interesting. Akhi, those few minutes they filmed, brother. Oh, subhanallah al-azim. So the lodge is enormous. You imagine like a lecture theater with, you know, the small seat where the Grand Master is sitting on the one end, and this enormous lecture theater with thousands of people. And then you have this path where people parade slowly holding banners and other things of that has any kind of meaning to them, parading towards the Grand Master, and then they greet him. And the way of greeting is very interesting. So they first they put the hand to the head, and then they do like this, and then the hand down. And what it means is that, you know, I salute you. If I betray the organization, I die. And then they put the hand down. That is their way of saluting. Now, in that particular video, the people that came in, that parade that came in, included a number of heads of state from Africa. They came to parade in front of the occult Grand Master of the Masonic Lodge of France. And brother, this is not a conspiracy theory, brother. This is on video in mainstream media. They were let in to film those few minutes. And then comes the Grand Master's right-hand man. And he says, my dear brothers, I greet you all. And, you know, very lofty words of respect and whatnot. And we shall now all greet our very, he said, either respectable or venerable Grand Master. So my brothers, please stand up. I will lead you and you follow me in the greeting we're going to greet him with. And then he said a certain number of greetings. And then, so this right hand of the Grand Master, he done the movement X number of times. And you have the whole congregation following this greeting, doing it after him. And then he said, the Grand Master is his first word. He says, where is the place? And the right-hand man answers, Mount Sinai. Who is the king? No, whose kingdom is it? Solomon's kingdom. And then the Grand Master hits the, you know, the hammer on the desk and said, the session is open. And that's when the video cuts out. Okay. So you see the level of secrecy and the caliber of people that attends this. You have this Grand Master who is greeted by African heads of state that say, if I betray your organization, I die. Get out of here, man. And this once again, Mike, I would like to ask you. All right, you speak about the threats that Americans perceive is posed by Muslims. Do you understand the way the world feels about America? Can you
Sure, of course.
process
We're the
this?
superpower of the world. We've got military bases in 170 countries. I think it's ridiculous. We're in Djibouti, although the Houthis are firing at ships trying to get through the Suez Canal. So, we've had to.
And the Houthis are a scam, brother.
Oh, yeah.
That the Houthis are a scam. I was in Yemen for 10 years, okay? I was, the Houthis nowadays are fully kept alive by the United Nations and America. The Obama administration are the ones that have done all the political work to enable the Houthis to legitimize their political power in Yemen, because they were going to get done away with. And Iran has just supplied in the open for everybody to see, has supplied the Houthis with all the weaponry they needed through the port of Hodeidah, which the US forbade the Southern resistance from taking. Every time the Southern resistance would make progress on the port of Hodeidah, it's US planes and drones that would bash them. So the Houthis are a scam. The Houthis
I've never heard that. I've only heard the mainstream media thing is the Iranians.
I was on the ground, Mike.
We back the Saudis. Who back
I seen a lot of crazy stuff when I was there. Right, so especially with the Houthis, I remember when I went to Sana'a, and this is the only place I ever seen this. Right, Sana''s like the capital, right? Of Yemen.
That's the capital, yeah.
Right, and on the main street, it's called Dairi. It's called Dairi. Dairi means like a loop, right? Right, but that's the main street in Sana'a, the big street. There's a massive, and it's called Iranian Cultural Center, spelled in Arabic, English, and Persian. There's no Iranians in Yemen. There's not one Iranian in Yemen, but they have this huge building, massive building in Sana'a. Right?
Yeah, but back to it, Mike. Like, do you condemn the U.S. imperialistic program of keeping the rest of the world under their heel?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a bad idea. I thought McKinley holding on to the Philippines after the Spanish-American War was a bad idea. We shouldn't have held on to Puerto Rico. Maybe Guam. You get out in the Pacific. We kind of needed to project power out there. It's a very small island. Obviously, our decimation of the American Indians was bad. Platt was famous for saying, "Kill the Indian to save the man." That was Christian bullshit. We wiped out a lot of cultures. Luckily we had the Navajo to be the wind speakers during World War II as code talkers. But again, that's world history. To me, it seems like Muslims don't ever live up to their imperialistic. It's like they lost the fight of empire at the end, so now empire is bad. But you go back to not the time of Muhammad, but I think Omar, wasn't it Khalid ibn Walid, who said to Omar, "Look at the Egyptians. There's a country that has never been richer and less defended. When the Byzantines were falling, they were a vassal state of the Byzantines. Let's invade them." You invaded the Hindus. I still can't get an answer out of any Muslim of how many Hindus were killed in the 1,000-year rule over, modern day India. So, it seems like we all have to repent for our sins, but the Muslims won't ever acknowledge.
With all due respect, you goddamn right you have to repent.
All right. Well, I will repent.
Like what you're talking about right now about India, about this so-called this Muslim imperialism and all kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Just where are your receipts? Where are your receipts of all these events happening that doesn't come from Christian Orientalists?
Okay. The massacre of Chios, 1822. It's well documented.
Okay, and was this done because the Muslims were just randomly killing people just like this?
Well, the Ottoman admiral ordered
Look
all
here,
children under 3 killed.
Look here, Mike.
All girls over.
Look here, Mike.
All women over 40 killed.
East Africa, okay. You have North Africa, right? You have Indonesia. You have Malaysia.
Right.
All these countries where are like majority Muslims, and they have Christians in them, and they have Jews in them, and they have their local religions in them, right? What are you talking about? You're comparing this to the devilish white supremacist system that started in the 1400s, where they're kidnapping people en masse, free people, bringing them to the West, re-enslaving free people, and then saying, well, the Muslims did it. So you're trying to superimpose this history on the Muslim because you did it, and now because Muslims had an empire, you're trying to superimpose that wicked, devilish, white supremacist empire, that history, on a history of the Muslims. And was the Muslim history perfect? No, there was some bad stuff that happened. No doubt there was some bad stuff that happened. Absolutely. We're not saying that was utopian, but it wasn't this stuff. It definitely wasn't this stuff.
Well, I'm not trying to impose one history on another. I'm trying to look at all histories and look at how it was similar. Those who were powerful conquered the weak.
You cannot compare. Throughout history, there were similarities in oppression. Yes, there was. There were similarities in terms of slavery. Yes, there was, absolutely, right? Okay. What's the standout with white supremacy is that for the first time in human history, right, you had this concept which came out of Spain, this concept called racism, right? Al-Raza, right? Where people who they classified as white, whereas Abdullah showed with receipts, they were the gods of the earth, okay? They were the ones who were supposed to be superior above the people that they classified as black, right? This is a totally different thing. This never happened before. Did you have oppression of people? Yes, you did. Did you have killing people? Yes, you did, right? But at the same time, they considered those people that they were oppressing as you know, they were human beings. They weren't considering the people as Abdullah posted. What did they call them? The ape people or something?
Apelings.
Sure. You can go to the curse of Ham. The Christians used the curse of Ham or the curse of Canaan.
Yeah,
where's in the Bible to justify enslaving black people?
The curse of Ham, curse of Canaan. Where is it? You show me it.
Also,
it's not comparable.
It's in the Bible. What do you mean?
Curse of Ham is not in the Bible. The curse of Ham is in the Bible, but there's no color assigned to Ham and his descendants.
It said made like soot or something, is it not?
The curse of Ham is expounded on in the Talmud of the Jews.
Exactly.
It's not in the Bible.
Okay, well, maybe
hey, and then the thing that got me though, you know, he started talking about like Omar, he started talking about Omar like invading Egypt, like he's like cherry picking. The Muslims was already at war with the Christians. They was already at war with the Christians, and what are the Romans doing in Jerusalem anyway? What's that got to do with them? And since the time of the Prophet, they was using like certain Arab tribes to like cause trouble with the Muslims. So when the Prophet was on his deathbed, he sent Osama out. That was just like the beginning of the war. So like what Omar did, you can't equate that with what your people did. And they had already destroyed them when he conquered Jerusalem. So finish them off. Why would we leave them in Egypt to rule? They was already at war.
You know, brother Points of Light, there's this whole like it's a movement that really started from the Hoover Institute with Thomas Sowell and whatnot, right? But they're using Thomas Sowell to push this idea, you know, that slavery always happened throughout history, and there's always slaves, and we already know slavery. It's in the Bible. Slavery's in the Bible. Okay, we know that we understand that slavery has existed from time, right? And now you find these folks saying, well, because it's existed from time, you know, I mean, like these black slaves, right? This is just what was going on throughout history.
Right.
That's stuff that happened with our people. It has never happened before with any other people throughout history.
Right. Chattel
Right.
slavery.
Chattel slavery. That was the
Yep.
first time in recorded history where you had chattel slavery, where somebody, not just a human being, right, but the descendants of that human being, and the closest thing you can confine to that is the pharaoh over the Jews. That is the closest thing you can confine to chattel slavery. So now you want to compare yourself not to the rest of what the slavery the rest of the world was practicing. Say that we are Pharaoh. Just say that. Say that we are the what you call it, Pharaoh 2.0, his system. Just say that.
Hey, and the other weird part about it, the other justification they like to use, well, you were sold by your own people. Y- they try to, use,
All this is
this sort of acronism now. So
yeah,
like if one tribe in Africa went to war with another tribe and they took like, prisoners of war, they say, you got enslaved by your own people. They didn't consider themselves to be the same people. That's like Bilal was talking about earlier, this black and white thing. You're white. And I think the brother Bilal done already covered like when Europeans became white in America. It was before they used to say the Irishmen, the Englishmen. Then you came up with this title white. So since everybody's black, you say, they enslaved their own people, even though these people spoke different languages, had different cultures. They didn't see themselves as the same people.
yeah.
And they never say about the Romans or the Greeks when they was enslaving other so-called white people. They enslaved their own people. Did you think the Romans and the Greeks thought these other Europeans they was enslaving was their people? Like I just don't understand like these stupid arguments that they bring up to try to justify what they done.
Yeah, because they know what they did, and the criminal always goes back to the scene of the crime to try to hide the evidence. This is what they do. You get
It's
me?
it's apologetics for white supremacy.
Yes, it's apologetic for white supremacy. Instead of fighting the actual white supremacy, which what you should be doing as a respectable human being, you're making apologies for the people that are probably the most wicked group of people to ever come out in recorded human history. I can't think of anybody else except for this concept of white supremacy, right? That is more evil than this thing, right?
The West is failing anyway. I mean, America's like in big trouble.
Yeah, and
Just
that's but
everything that went up. People are like struggling here. Like they tell
Exactly.
foreigners that they
on a
tell foreigners this is the greatest country. Then they come here and they see it's not like what they've been promoting to you. Like Islam is the only thing that would save America. So if you really loved it, you should be because you have nothing to offer. What do you have to offer now?
I mean, the emperor is naked. Everybody is seeing it. No,
Exactly. It's not like atheism can revive the Western world.
it can't revive anything. The atheism right now is it's on its way out. People are accepting religion, all over the place, right? Because atheism really was a response to the European Christian era, that the church era. Or that's what atheism really was, because people were
And it's a
yeah.
mechanism of manipulation.
So, but anyways, that's really as Sister Tika, may Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. I mean, right? I
I
keep
mean,
lounge for some reason, but I actually had the questions about the original topic. If I can, Barakallah, if you can, yeah, of course. Right. So if you could put your question in the chat, or you can just hop back on and we can get your question answered.
But
Right.
I had a real question about the original topic.
Yeah, go ahead.
It seems like it's this reoccurring theme of with the occult and with harnessing and tapping into so-called energy that exists in the universe. Is this theme of the symbolism of thunderbolt, which you could tie to energy. Obviously, this stuff is motivated by the jinn. If you go down the rabbit hole
Yes.
far enough. So basically,
Yes.
my question was like, is this whole idea of tapping into energy and using symbols that represent energy just tied into the jinn? They're just symbols that represent the jinn.
Well, look, obviously there's only so much that we are going to study about this matter, because we're not going to open the books like Shams al-Ma'arif and other known sihr books. But from things that I read, and also interviews I watched and listened to specialists talk about it, it's sihr is a way to harm someone else, or also to do something to yourself. So the way I see it, or what I deduct from my readings and interviews I watched, as I said, is that this whole spiritual enlightenment path you need to do alterations to your own body. So this it's done in multiple ways. One way is using substances, and this is all the experimentation that were done with LSD back in the days. It was like Bilal, I mentioned to you this woman that was a mentor of mine when I was about 17, who is the top scholar of Luxembourg. I mean, she used to be. I don't know whatever happened to her. Her blinds have been shut for like about 15 years now. So she was a top scholar in education of Luxembourg. So she was telling me, so she studied all these things in a lot of detail, how psychotropic drugs, LSD, magic mushrooms, etc., there has been a lot of experimentation that has been done with these they after this experimentation, they changed the name of these drugs to perception expanding drugs. And that's really what they're trying to do. They are trying to find a way to connect with the world of the invisible. And this whole mystic madahib of Hinduism and chakras. Well, I'm sure you guys heard about that. The 7 points in the body.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Subhanallah, and this is also featured in cartoons nowadays. It's a matter.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and there's this. I watched and I don't want to say that channel because they do have quite some bad stuff on there as well. Like a whole analysis of a thing called, I think it's called the Airbender or something like that. There's some popular cartoon series nowadays.
Avatar.
No. It's a cartoon, and it's like a kid who's doing martial arts.
Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar. The Last Airbender. Yeah, Avatar. It's called The Last Airbender.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's it. Yeah. So
utilizing the chi.
Yeah. So subhanallah, he's giving like the brother that done this video. It's in Arabic. So also the video is the Arabic translation. He actually gives you the whole aqidah of the 7 chakras in about a 5-minute breakdown. And what it is you let the shaitan alter things in your body in order to kind of tune it and get some kind of benefit from the shaitan in worldly matters by enabling him to do so. And the top one is the one in the head. And it's very interesting what he says in that cartoon. The master is telling this martial art kid, is like, you have to let go of everything. Your family, your friends, your worldly life. And there is no turning back. And this is very similar to the story that Abdullah ibn Abbas, spoke about when this woman came to him in the story of the black dogs that she rode with the witch in order to go to see those 2 men that were hanging upside down. And she saw this knight in armor get out of her chest and going back to the sky. And then the 2 men hanging upside down told her, this is your iman that has just left you. Right? When she has done the first step into sihr. So she taken the step and now there is no turning back. So
yeah, it makes sense. Like even with Hollywood, when you hear about all the stuff going on, like I had did some reading on it. And then once I ran into a guy who practiced like Wicca, and we got to talking, and I was like, those are like jinn you're calling. And he was telling me, yeah, we know. And he said that they use intoxicants, and that's why they have like big orgies, like sex magic. And he said they do this because they want the spirits to come into them. So what we would call possession. So it's like a religious practice when they doing homosexuality and
Absolutely.
having orgies, and they use
Absolutely.
drugs when they do it. He says that because that makes them more susceptible. It's easier for the spirit to possess them when they doing, such things. SubhanAllah.
Absolutely.
Then he
Absolutely.
got to
And
telling me about like Hollywood. He was telling me that Hollywood and like Harry Potter, he was like the ones you see them use. The reason why they call it Hollywood, those wands used to be made from a tree called the holly tree that the pagans used to worship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the tree is wood. So the holly tree, they would make these wands out of them because they thought it held some type of, magical or spiritual power.
that's right. That's right. And you see, Bilal, you were talking about Aleister Crowley last time. Aleister Crowley, according to a university professor who specialized in this kind of stuff, I forgot his name right now. He said that Aleister Crowley, he was one of the first one who really developed this magical sex practices. So as Point of Light was saying, you have these big orgies for the purpose of witchcraft.
Yeah.
And now, as I said, Guido von List, Blavatsky, they're open occultists.
Yep. And
it's not like it's sugar coated. Okay.
Well,
so
that's the very popular feminist. What's her name? Maybe y'all can remind me of her. But she was practicing the stuff too. She was an atheist. She died like in the 60s or 70s or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The name is escaping me. She's the one who turned out to be a CIA agent.
Yes. And she was pushing.
Gloria.
Not Gloria Steinem. It's a different.
Yeah, she.
It's
founder. Wow.
Yeah. Founder of what?
What is it? Women something. The big anti-abortionist thing.
Yes.
Gloria
Steinem. It's her. Yeah. It's not Gloria Steinem. It's a different lady. But
anyways,
yeah. This name is on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, she was into that stuff, right? She was into that stuff as well, right? She was.
Are you saying that she's the promote the abortion thing here in this country? The same woman? SubhanAllah.
You're talking about she was like what's her name? You're talking about the one who founded Planned Parenthood?
Did she found Planned Parenthood? I can't remember. I can't remember if she did. I think she did. She's one of the founders or one of the promoters, anyways. Sure.
So Bilal, let me ask you this: do you see that as these sort of ideas is like cloaked for them to practice their child sacrifice in a way?
It's not cloaked anymore. It's not cloaked anymore. It was cloaked when Brother Abdullah was mentioning about Aleister Crowley, right? And it's shocking because a lot of this occult stuff really it kind of blew up in the 1800s, right? Shockingly enough, but of course you had the church, you had pressure from the church, you had pressure from the wider society, and you had pressure from politics, right? But now it's very open, right? And so through what's that word? Subversion, subversive tactics. It's wide open. Sex magic is practiced very openly.
Right.
Yeah, if you go into it's hard to find a bookstore anymore. But if you go into a bookstore, they got whole entire sections now with astrology, magic.
You type it on Amazon, bro.
YouTube channels will tell you about sex magic, right? And then it's practiced throughout Hollywood openly. You have people getting caught all the time now, like the new one, Diddy, right? Diddy was, and he's an occultist. Like that came out. We all know about Jay-Z. We knew Jay-Z was Illuminati and occultist. You have Jeffrey. What's his name?
Jay-Z's teacher is a woman. If you look her up, her name is Averov.
So that was open. There's no more hiding, right? It's in the music directly, right?
Yep.
But I'm saying, like, when people were like ignorant, a big part of like satanic worship is like sacrificing, and they would sacrifice children, So think about it. If they get people to do abortions now, you're having like child sacrifice like in the open. It's a slick way to do it and tell people, oh, because you know you don't need your choice, woman's body. You're too poor to have a child right now.
It's a
Focus
right.
on your career. And people get abortion. It's like I don't know, like a wickedly clever way to get people to basically do their bidding.
And this is why people hate Islam, because they've convinced people all this satanic practices is their right. And then they point at Islam and say, "Oh, look at how oppressive Islam is. It won't allow you to have these rights. You know, you can't just kill kids anytime you feel like it for whatever reason you want. You can't just intoxicate yourself whenever you want. You can't just walk around naked whenever you want. You can't just have sex with whoever you want whenever you want. So Islam
that
is
is a
oppressive."
part of occultism as well, the wordplay, right? How they position things with words, right? So they don't tell the people, you know, to disobey Allah. They don't say it like that. They use a very satanic method, right? Like just like how Iblis went to Adam. He didn't say go eat the fruit just like that. Just, you know, no. How did he position it? He positioned it as eternal life. You know, this will give you eternal life. You'll be like the angels and things of this nature, right? So this is how they speak, right? And the part of speech is actual magic. It's a deception, right? So they now they position you know, abortion as my body, my choice, and things of that nature. It's very wicked.
Guys, look at this.
Mm.
So here you have Western mysticism and esotericism, all right? And look at if y'all can see the table of contents here. All right, so we have gnosis, alchemy, and you know, magic, blah blah blah, and at the very end, what do we have? Sex. All right, and this is not conspiracy theory book. All right, this is Cambridge University Press on the topic.
No.
And it's as you said, it's sex for occultism.
Yes. Okay, and Sister Tika and Coach Abdullah, they got it for me. It's Margaret Sanger. That's
Coach Abdullah.
Yes,
my brother.
And she
also was a racist, a vile white supremacist.
Correct.
She was a eugenist. She wanted to kill the black race.
Sex magic as well. All right. So Sister Rabia, she's asking Africa and even First Nation cultures here in North America, and I'm wondering, is this a coincidence or shaitan at work? What is the? Hold on. Let me go back. I noticed that with the study of the 5 elements is something that transcends different cultures. For examples, you find this in China, Asia, all over Africa, and even First Nation cultures. Okay, the 5 elements thing. Okay,
Yeah.
Africa and even First Nation cultures here in North America, and I'm wondering, is this coincidence or shaitan at work?
No, it's absolutely shaitan at work, without a shadow of a doubt. If you watch this series that we have hinted at by Sheikh Tim Humble, he's actually explaining that. How he shows you video where he goes with one of the famous Saudi scholars that is dealing with the matters of Ruqya. They go and visit the Museum of Witchcraft, and they see how everywhere in the world you see that witchcraft is done the same way.
Right. Yep.
You know, and they have artifacts from cultures that were geographically completely disconnected, and there is no known trade route that was joining those cultures. But we see that the witchcraft practices, the type of names that they use, the names of the shayateen, they were the same names.
Yeah.
So it's not something that, you know, people could have by chance all imagined the same way. And likewise, when you see this whole Gnostic, all these Gnostic madahib, these themes just keep on recurring. You have this mystic entity in the shadows that is teaching the top of the pyramid of the Gnosis elite, that are then teaching the middle elite, that are then dumbing down the masses. But who is this entity from the shadow? You know, like Blavatsky, she was talking about these 2 Mahatmas that were in some secret place that were teaching her. Guido von List that receives this letter from this dude who's saying that he's a reincarnated priest, king, etc. And he's talking about the occult elite of the Aryan race that is somewhere and that's in touch with him. This is at the end of the day what occultism is you getting in touch with the shayateen, and they teach you what they need to teach you in order for them to manipulate you in a certain way. It is as simple as that. You see, yoga and meditation is just another way to bridge that gap with the world of the invisible. Like you will see nowadays, yoga trainers in the Arab world, they will hold these yoga sessions, etc. And the whole goal is that you start hearing the voice. Once you start hearing the voice in your head, khalas, now you go on to the next stage. Now we need to tell you how you're gonna build this relationship with this voice and how you're gonna implement what this voice is telling you, and you're gonna become Allahu A'lam what after that. It's really as simple as that. It's the connection to the world of the shayateen.
Yeah. All right.
When you just said that, that
I
reminded
want to
me.
close it out because we've been 3 hours. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here. So I'm gonna give everybody a chance. We'll start with Mike, and then we'll go to CL, and then we'll go to Points of Light. Okay, so go ahead, Mike.
Unmute myself.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. I appreciate all your insights and all your knowledge and taking some of my questions. I know I get off topic sometimes, and I apologize, but you all have a good one.
No worries, Mike. You're very welcome to be a guest here anytime. Sorry for the little harshness. That's just my personality. If you watch my videos, you know.
That's okay. No problem, man.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, CL. You could ask your question, and you can make your last point at the same time. Inshallah.
Yeah, you know, my last,
We get
like I
late,
said,
family.
this,
Just in case you didn't know, it's because Abdullah he's in Saudi, right? So that's why we're late. So it's in the morning time for him. So he's cool, right? But me, I'm crashing out here. That's o'clock in the morning here. But we, alhamdulillah, you know, the brother, he's very generous with his time, and we've been very generous with our time too. So don't forget to support the channel. At least like, subscribe, share if you haven't already. Right?
Yeah, folks, like Feachaz. I mean, liking the video is really like the least you can do, folks. Come on, it doesn't cost you anything. Just press the blimmin' thing on your screen.
Press the like button. Yeah, you know, as you can see, it's late night here. We've been on for 3 hours. We've been giving you some very quality material, as you can see, and we're definitely going to do a part 3, inshallah. Inshallah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother CL.
yeah, inshallah, I'm looking forward to part 3, part 1 and 2. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to part 1 and 2. I just wanted to make the point: just because you dislike something or you fear something doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that actually that thing is the best thing for you. Because we know that the pagans in Arabia during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they heard the Quran, they made complaints like, "Why can't you change the Quran or bring us another Quran other than this Quran?" Because they didn't like it, they didn't like what it said, they didn't like the message, they didn't. They saw it as something that threatened their way of life, something that we hear a lot today. But it may be that your way of life is the thing. You think that Islam is going to come and oppress you, but maybe you don't realize it's your way of life that's actually oppressing you.
100%. Yeah.
And just, you know, that's the blind. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has to give you the hidayah. He has to give you the you know, the light to be able to see and to be able to go down a straight path. Because my story is that, you know, I came to dislike Islam very much and attack Islam. But, you know, all things be to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that He gave me that hidayah and that ability to, you know, to awake and see that the thing that I was running away from and rejecting was actually the thing that I needed the most. And I pray that for, this is my indigenous country. I didn't immigrate here. My people have always been here for over 500 years. And I pray that one day that my country will wake up and realize that Islam is what's best for us, because if it doesn't, we're heading for destruction.
Jazakallah khair, jazakallah khair.
Well
Yeah.
said, CL. Well said. And I definitely want to second that. I think a lot of opposition that you see to Islam, it comes from the shaitan. And often you will find people saying, or our people didn't follow that way. Like even in the Quran, like Pharaoh is like tricking Musa. He's trying to like get a certain response from Musa when he's saying, well, what about our forefathers? Where are they? And, you know, Musa wisely, you know, answers him. Go ahead, Bilal.
I want to cut you off real quick because I just want to interject because you said some people say that's an Arab religion. You know that this particular thing about the Arab religion, this is something that is specific for Black people. We are the only ones talking about this Arab religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was introduced to us by missionaries.
That is a clear
Actually,
trick of the shaitan, right? It's a clear
Definitely.
plot of the shaitan, right? Because
But I'm sure that
even
we're not the only people that happen to, though. I'm sure like other races hear the same thing. Like especially like Euro Americans and
maybe I know in Europe sometimes they connect Islam to being an Indian religion sometimes, right? But not with the veracity and the fierceness that the Black folk have of connecting Islam to being an Arab religion. And the reason why that is because of this divide and conquer tactic that really started in Africa from Christian Orientalists, where they made people who were the same type of people, they're the same type of people. They're the ones who divided, especially in the Sudan, the Muslims as Arabs and anybody who wasn't Muslim as Black Africans. Right. And from that time and from the carryover of that into slavery, we haven't been able to get away from it because we as Black Americans are trying to find our identity. We're still looking for who we are. The whether it's in South America, whether it's in North America, with the descendants of slaves, we're still looking for our identity, right? We're still searching for it. But when you have a whole group of people that are mixed with every single tribe of Africa, and we're mixed with every single race in the West, including white, including Chinese, including Indians, Native, and all that kind of stuff, and we're still Black, right? The only thing that can really be successful of making unity with the people is something that's under Allah Himself, which it has to be Islam, right? So from the tricks of Shaitan, for us, this is like a sticking point, because for us it hurt that the history of slavery and colonization really stings, right? So this is something that stings you. You know what I mean? So we have to connect that Islam to that Arab religion stuff, right? So I just wanted to make that point. But yeah, I really appreciate that you brought that up. So go ahead, points to Lake. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean that's exactly what they do. That's one of his main tricks. They use like extreme nationalism or extreme, you know,
Us versus them.
extremism, ethnic groups, this sort of thing. Yeah. That's exactly what they do. Like, because I was thinking about that because I remember reading a ayah in the Quran where Musa's giving dawah to like Pharaoh, and Pharaoh like mentions like, well, what about our forefathers? Were they misguided? You know, he was trying to get a certain rise out of Musa. Like, what do you say about them? What happened to them? I guess hoping he say they in hell or whatever and offend the people. And he was like, you know, that knowledge is with, you know, Allah. So, you know, Musa like, you know, use revelation. Allah sent them wise revelation. So yeah, I
You
mean
see,
they use that a
brother,
lot, bro. Go
POL,
ahead.
look, like this particular event that you're mentioning here. This is the Pharaonic Shubha. Musa is talking to Pharaoh about, hey, yo, you have a creator and you will be accountable to him. Can we talk about that? And then Pharaoh, he goes on a tangent. Oh, so what about the previous people? Listen, we're not talking about the previous people right now. We're talking about the fact that you are a creation that has a creator. And that's what we need to focus on right now. But they don't want to talk about that. They're always trying to slip away with, you know, an issue that would be some form of emotional controversy and just make people run
Exactly.
away and just not tackle the core topic that is the most important.
Right. And then you often find, like with our people, Bilal, they make remarks like that, but you will find that they want to worship somebody, ancestor thousands of years ago, and you want to follow their way, but they have grandparents, great grandparents, and you don't even follow what they follow. You're following some Kemetic, Egyptian, the religion of the ancient Egyptians, and you ask them, did your grandparents follow that? So, like they didn't even follow what their parents are following, but you're going back to something else, glorify some ancestors that you never met. The other point I wanted to make when the brother mentioned about the magic, and that's why I asked him about the Yahoo, because Allah tells us in the Quran that this came down in Babylon, right? It was
That's
down as a
right.
text. So I believe the
That's
knowledge
right.
came from there. And I think people were meeting people, but certain people learned this stuff. And I think they probably passed it down to their children. I think people still was having interactions. And I think, that's how it spread. People wanted the life of this worldly life. But
Look,
I asked them about the Yahoo
points of
because
light.
the Yahoo would have been more knowledgeable about this than like the Christian Westerner. Like they would already knew these things like in their books. So that's why I asked them what was their connection, with the occult. I appreciate it. Salaam Alaikum. I'm the end right there.
Point of light.
Before you go, Abdullah, I just want to quickly address something that Points of Light said back to the Arab thing, right? One quick point, right? Let's say, for example, that hypothetically, right, Islam is an Arab religion, right? Right. What are the original Arabs? Come on, somebody say it. The original Arabs are what?
They look like
Thank
us.
you. Thank you. And not only that,
that's the over for the under. That's the over.
Their books, they understand that the original Arabs are black people, and they know this, and it's in their literature, right? So,
actually, Dr. Umar, when he was pressed about his comments about Islam, and he said his comments about the Arabs, when he was pressed about that, he made that statement. He said, "Yeah, I know that the original Arabs were black-skinned people. If you knew that, then why did you make that statement in the first place? Because these people are confused. They have their own agendas."
Yes, and you got to remember that the racism did not begin until late 1400s, early 1500s. This is when the idea of race began. Anything before that, there was no such thing called race. People were not looking at each other like a race, the black race, the white race, or whatever. They would mention their phenotypes as black. This one's a black. This one's red. This one's whatever. But they weren't looking at them as some sort of like a different type of human being or something like that. They just like mentioning them like based on their color, right? It's us because of the racism that we faced. We have this idea in our head. So everything that happened prior to that, we kind of pigeonhole racism with it, and that was not a thing at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. When he was speaking,
Bilal, you notice how many times they have redefined what is black? First, it was just a person with black skin. Then that wasn't enough. Then you got to have features like this. This make the black. You notice how that happened over time too?
Yeah, of course, because as when you're looking at through the history of slavery, right? Every single colony, whether it's Spanish or French or British or Dutch, they had their different rules and ideas of race. All of them did. So in the American experience, you have the one drop rule, right? If one drop of black blood, you are black. Okay. This is a carryover from the Spanish, right? The Spanish, they're the original ones who made that rule. They said you must have two pure blood white grandparents from the mother side and the father side. If you have this, then you're pure blood. They're the ones who started that. But then when they colonized places like Colombia, right? They or the Caribbean, they said that if any black person mixes with a white person, that person is white. That person is white. So they have a completely different rule because it is a social construct. The idea of race is a social construct. If you look at South Africa, right? They have 3 different categories. They have black, which is the native people. They have white, which is the Boers and whatnot, right? But what's between that? What did they call them?
The colors.
Right? If you call us colored in the West, what is that? Is it something good?
Nowadays,
it's a derogatory
It's like a
name.
derogatory.
We used to go by color.
But if you call a colored person in South Africa black, they're going to be very offended because for them, they are colored. They're not black. The same way how we look as colored is the same way that they look at, calling them some other derogatory.
I know we got to go, and I want to listen to Abdullah. Respond on that about the Babylon, about magic coming down to Babylon, how to spread. But I want to ask you, Bilal, when the Spanish started this race, these racial categories, did they do that because of the Moors that had the Muslims that had conquered Spain all that time? Is that the reason?
Part of the reason it was during the Spanish Inquisition, and around the same time, this was when the exploration to the New World was happening, right? So all of this is kind of coming together because remember, Europe it was pretty much like in tatters, right? They were poor, right? They weren't like there's lots of poor people and whatnot, and so they're trying to find wealth, right? So when the Portuguese came out and they went to West Africa, and those West Africans gave them slaves and they brought them back to Europe, right? The Pope at that time said, these slaves are a good idea. Why don't we just go back and get some more, right? Because they're racially distinct from. They didn't say racially, but they said that they're clearly distinct from us, right? And they were kind of shocked that these people were kind of gifting them slaves, right? Because slavery has existed for a long time, but these folks are thinking they're going to treat the slaves like normal people, right? They weren't expecting all this kind of stuff, so it kind of the stars kind of aligned, with lack of a better word. Sorry, Abdullah, I know you don't like.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Sure.
No, it's cool.
Speech. I don't believe the stars aligned like that. Okay, but you know what I mean.
Okay, like that. Yeah, okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. That's and then you had the Spanish Inquisition. The Muslims were generally black, right? So that's why they made up this rule, right? And then you had the Jews, right? So what the Jews ended up doing was they ended up converting to Christianity for political expediency, of course, because they were
conversos.
But you couldn't hide your darkness from these the Spaniards, right? So go ahead, Abdullah. Go. Sorry.
Yeah, Pio. Listen, I'll address that inshallah the next live because I got a story for you, inshallah. Like the story with how the Jews connect to magic in our own ummah.
Okay.
All right. So Abdullah, I'll let you have the last words.
Well, last word is thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, brothers. And next week, same time, yeah, Bilal?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you, bro. And you're very
my pleasure, guys.
Hayakumullah. And I know you want to eat breakfast now. And
good live, brother.
Guys,
I appreciate you, brother, putting this together, man.
I appreciate you 2 points later, and everybody who joined us late night, especially here on this side of the pond. I want to give a special shout out to Sister Tika for the $10 and the $5 super chat. May Allah reward you and bless you and multiply it for you a millionfold. I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight, everybody who participated in the panel, and everybody who liked, subscribed, and shared. I want to thank you. May Allah bless you as well. And we will see you next week for this particular topic. And I think I'm going live tomorrow, inshallah, right, on a different topic, right? So if I can stay awake, right? And Brother Abdullah, hayakallah, jazakallah. Thank you so much for your research, man. This is incredible stuff. And we'll see you again next week for part 3, inshallah.
Inshallah. Salaam Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salaam Alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, family, and free the land, beloved, free the land, free the land, free the land.